morning, everyone. We are back. Away days previews are back. Get out of there and international football. Let's get back to some proper football and talking at Newcastle United. And we're in the house, ladies and gents. Brandon Blaze, back in business. Great to see you, Chrissy Hall. How you doing, fella?
All good, mate. Yeah, all good. I feel like I've not been on a show in weeks, which Martin kindly reminded everybody the other night. I was watching, and then I watched the show back last night. Actually, it was brilliant, really, really good. But yeah, really good to be back. Really looking forward to speaking to Dan and Terry tonight to discuss all things Man United, Newcastle, and yeah, just pumped for it.
Definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, we missed you yesterday, but look, there'll be plenty more of those conversations happening in the weeks and months ahead. So don't worry about that at all. Great to see everyone in the chat. Just run through some names. Of course, we've got Lisa Moore in the chat, bigging everyone up. Mary, welcome again. Saw you with some great comments yesterday as well. Bradley Garner, welcome to the chat. Enjoyed the Tune for Life as always. PDK, hope you're well. Michael Parsons, David Cook, we've got Simon. Welcome, Simon, back into the chat. Great to see you. Michael Palmer, Jimmy, good old Jimmy in the chat. Get in there. Tom Dixon, Craig Lee, and many more. I've seen David Shepherd in there as well. And welcome to the chat, Jason as well, and many, many more as we kick things off. And look, what are your thoughts about Sunday, Chris? What's your overriding feeling in the build-up to the game? It's a massive game.
Yeah, it's a huge game. You'll see anyone noticed who's eagle eye in the chat. I've got a question ready for Dan and Terry, which I don't normally do. Yeah, I put my own question in the chat. So that'll be ready for later. Do you know what, Pete? I don't know what it is. I'm feeling like worryingly confident. Like we were sat together, weren't we? Near Wembley, we weren't in Wembley, but we were sat together for the Carabao Cup final, and I think we were both quite buoyant. We were both really confident, but like this feels next level confident. Like I fully believe. I feel like all the stars have aligned now. We've got Joe Linton coming back, Isaac's firing. I don't know. I just feel really pumped for it, and I think this game's got such significance, because of the league table, and it's only up until the last week or so that the media and Sky Sports and people like that are starting to actually consider us for top four. I think they thought that we would have dropped off by now, and the fact that we haven't is credit to Eddie and the lads. But it's going to be an interesting one this weekend because we've heard the rumours, Rashford might be out, and we all fully expect Rashford to be back in. Dan and Terry may say otherwise, but I just think with Casemiro being out, and there's been rumours, of Sabitzer being out and Eriksen's out, and I just feel like everything's aligned for us to really have a go. And I think it will be a totally different game to the one that we saw at Wembley for the Carabao Cup final. So I'm feeling confident, Pete. Worryingly, I am feeling very confident.
No, not bad thing at all to be to be feeling confident. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit confident myself going into the game. Confident in that I don't think we'll lose, and then it all depends on the game from that point of view. But look, of course, as always, what we do on away days is we look at the opposition's perspective, and it's a pleasure to have hopefully two guests. Terry was scheduled; it is still scheduled to join us later on as planned. But first and foremost, returning after a fantastic showing on Battleground Europe 3, we've got Dan back from his new channel, new to come. Keep an eye out.
Yes,
UnitedFirst. So welcome in, Dan. How you doing, fella?
Boys, how are we doing? Hello, everyone in the chat as well. Lisa Mole, man, she's a proper fan. Fair play to her. Every time we see, I'm on the 12-man show. I always see her on there. Fair play. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. Great to have you on to talk all things Newcastle Man U. And Lisa, she follows us near and far. So she's always in there.
I might put a transfer bid in for her in the summer. She's brilliant.
No chance. Not accepted. Not accepted in any way, shape, or form. But no, look, Chris has just mentioned that it's a massive game Sunday, really, really big game. But we're talking about it. And Chris made a great point that we would look like we were down and out. People weren't talking about us in the top four. We put 2 wins together, and now we're back in that conversation. And look, very quickly, I'll pop up the league for us. Maybe I won't, because it's not there. But what I will say to you is that we are 5th, and with a win, we will go 3rd. So what are your thoughts, Dan, going into this game on Sunday, mate?
Yeah, it's a massive, massive game. It's a bigger game, unsuspectingly, for a Manchester United fan than I thought it would be. There's been obviously a couple of results that have sort of brought us back into this race a little bit. I honestly thought sort of 4 or 5 weeks ago we were a shoo-in, top 4's done. Let's concentrate on what else we can do, what other bits of magic we can do this season. But whereas your results that you've picked up, you've obviously had that setback over Christmas, a couple of losses there, but you've pulled it back. We've kind of hit the other way now. With Sunday in mind, I think that the thing for me, my main worry, and I think it's starting to show now, is that over-reliance on a Casemiro in the midfield, and that's our biggest worry. He's been phenomenal this season. Even when he's not been playing to his highest standards, he's still bossed our midfield, and that just shows where Manchester United's midfield is and has been for the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So it's a big task this Sunday. One that I'm going to quote. I'm going to quote Chris here and say, I'm worryingly confident. I mean, I'm quite the same as you. It's one of them games, isn't it? You guys have looked phenomenal this season. You've been a hard unit to break down. And I know a lot of Manchester United fans have said that we beat them in the Carabao Cup final. That's different. That's a one-off game where you chuck everything at it. Yeah. This means a lot more, I think, for both teams moving on now into these final stages of the season. So, yeah, it's going to be a big, big game. Big game.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. And
Pete, sorry, just to jump in, mate. I've just quickly thrown the league table up there.
Good man. Yeah, well, there it is. There you go. So Newcastle, like I say, 5th place. We go 3rd with a win, with better goal difference currently, and that changes things around, and it puts not only a little bit of pressure on Man United, as Dan's just mentioned, but even more so on Tottenham, who are not looking good right now. And what makes it even worse for them is that they're the Monday game, so they get to watch us first play against each other, and then however they'll analyse on the back of that, they've then got to go and do the business. And let's face it, if, say, for example, it was a Newcastle United win and we're both sitting on 50 points and they, I can't remember who they're playing on Monday, but who they go to.
Tottenham are away to Everton, mate. They're at Goodison.
Right. Okay. So
scrapping Everton, aren't they, as well? Scrapping for everything.
Yeah.
So not a guarantee there. And that puts massive pressure on Spurs, having potentially, Liverpool, Brighton, all winning games. It cramps it up on them, and obviously we know their situation, that they're without a manager at the moment. So, like I say, it's all to play for. That is for sure. But no, thank you for that, Chris. Top man. But look, you've talked about him already. Casemiro being missing. Chris mentioned it as well just before he came on, Dan. That I think there's a few players potentially missing. Is Eriksen still not available?
So Eriksen, from what I've been reading and looking into, Eriksen is doing well on his recovery, but this will be too soon for him. I don't see any need for us, as much as this is a massive game. I don't see any need for us to be rushing this guy back quicker than we should be. We've still got, and we'll probably go into it shortly. We've still got some midfielders there that I feel obviously are not on the same level as Casemiro, but who can come in and hopefully shore it up just a little bit.
Yeah. Garnacho looking like he's going to be long term.
Yeah, Garnacho was 6 weeks when it happened, wasn't it? 6 weeks. I don't see us rushing him back. I think the thing for Manchester United is, and I keep forgetting this, we've got so much football to play this season. So it just makes no sense. I know this is a big game, but it makes no sense to potentially rush these boys back and create even more drama for the rest of the season.
No, I agree with that. I think that's a fair point. I did hear some noises though today about potentially this man coming back. Is he back in training?
I mean, Christ, where'd you start with him? Honestly,
You didn't sound positive there, Dan.
Mate, honestly, the thing is, I'll be honest with you, right? I watched him in pre-season and I thought he's looking sharp. We keep him fit. We've got something here. And there's no denying when you have a fully fit Anthony Martial in the squad, in the team, it's a positive. Of course it is. But the problem we have is you don't have a fully fit Martial. Yeah, he's put the training in, but doing a training session and playing a game are two different things. And the other worry with him is yeah, okay, you're starting, but he ain't lasting 60 minutes. He'll be off half time or just after. So I'm not so convinced he'll play. I'm not so convinced.
Right, interesting. And of course, lots of talk about one or two other players. Is it a bit of gamesmanship here with regards to Marcus Rashford? He was, it happened just before the cup final, didn't it?
Yeah,
it happened just there, and then obviously there's all talk of him being pulled out the England squad with a knock. Has there been any noise, any pictures, any rumours of him training, or you would just expect him to just be back in the team?
He'll play, mate. He was in New York on the international break. I mean, if my man's injured, he's not going to New York because Ten Hag is not saying off you go. He's playing, mate. There's more chance of West Ham staying up than him missing this game on Sunday. He's our talisman. It's where our goals are coming from. At the end of the day, you're gonna. Whereas I'm saying he's not rushing back Garnacho and Eriksen. Rashford has to play. Rashford has to play. You miss Casemiro, that's a massive loss. Rashford missing as well, that's too much. So he'll play, definitely. He better have. I've captained him on me fantasy football anyway.
Oh, well, let's see what those press conferences are tomorrow. You might have to be making some late changes, but yeah, it's looking like he's going to play. And the last one was Sabitzer was pulled out of the Austrian team. I think he was on the bench, but didn't come on in the second game. Rumours of a knee injury. Again, another one that you think he's gonna play, in your opinion.
Again, yeah. I mean, providing it's nothing too serious, I can't see how he doesn't play. We'll get on. I know we'll get onto this man in a minute, but the thought of McTominay and Fred starting in the midfield, two against Newcastle away, just puts the fear of God into me. McTominay may have done it on the international break for Scotland, but it's got to be Sabitzer. If Sabitzer's fit, he has to start.
No, we'll look to see how that one develops. But so there's a little bit of an update from a Man United perspective with some of those players. For us, Chris, it looks like we're going to have Anthony Gordon back. Anthony Gordon back training and in the fold. Alan St-Maximin been training in Dubai along with Callum Wilson. So it looks like those boys are back in. Great to see. Positive.
Yeah, I think you lads mentioned it last night, didn't you, on the Loaded show, when you were saying when you look at our bench, it's like that's like the strongest bench we've seen in about 10-15 years. Like when you were going through all the players, I was thinking, hey, there's some good options on that bench, which Dan, you probably know anyway. Like we're not used to seeing. Normally, there's one player. I think a few months back, we had a plethora of players on there, and then there was Elliot Anderson, and that was it. And Elliot Anderson in the last couple of months has really come on. He took his opportunity really well when he made the cameo appearance against Forest. And
Eddie Howe brought him through, didn't he? Eddie Howe really rates him. I've read a few things from Eddie Howe about him. He's big fan, isn't he? Massive fan.
Yeah. He went on loan to Bristol Rovers in League Two with Joey Barton, and they nicknamed. It wasn't even us that nicknamed him this. They nicknamed him the Geordie Maradona. They absolutely adored him, thought he was brilliant. And then he came back. Obviously, Eddie Howe had a look at him when he came in, and I've always felt a little bit sorry for Elliot Anderson because he ended up making a couple of cameo appearances, but they were either very short or they were in the centre of the park. We play with the three in midfield, and I just don't think that's his position. And then anyway, he came on against Forest, and I think he played left wing, and he was superb, absolutely
superb.
How old is he?
So, how old is he? Still young?
Yeah, is he 19, 20, Pete?
Oh yeah, years. And he's got years.
Yeah, so very, very exciting prospect. But yeah, to answer your question, Pete, yeah, it's brilliant. It's great that we've got some injuries back. Has there been an update on Miggy? Do we know? I mean, I know somebody saw Miggy in an airport, and Miggy said he's fit, but do we know if he's match fit, or has that not been confirmed?
No, I think we'll find that out tomorrow with Eddie's press conference. But I don't expect him to start, even if he is fit and back playing. I think, from my perspective, I think at the best he'll be on the bench. But what like you just said, Chris, what a bench that would be is to have the likes of Miggy, Elliot Anderson, Alan St-Maximin, and Callum Wilson on the bench potentially. Gordon, to bring on. There's your 5 subs and more to really come on and impact the game. So, look, it's positive from our perspective, and it's certainly looking that way. But we'll find out more tomorrow, that's for sure, and we'll move forward. But look, we have to have this conversation. You're quite happy to have it, Dan, for various different reasons. Our fan base is split at the moment, but we talked about it a little bit last night, and it's Scott McTominay. He's turned into the absolute prime number 8 midfielder on international break, and all opinions are starting to change of Scott McTominay. But look, what are your thoughts on Scott McTominay from a Man United perspective? You get to see him week in, week out at your club. He's clearly been heavily linked with Newcastle United. What are your thoughts on all of those things in general?
Yeah, look, Scott McTominay, I think there's that element with Scott McTominay that I think a lot of people forget. People still see him as this young lad that's still coming through at Manchester United. He's 26 now. He's had a long time at Manchester United. I know he's been part of a squad where we have been absolutely dire, but I think a lot of Manchester United fans look at the way we're moving forward now and the way that we play football. I don't think we see Scott McTominay next season at Manchester United. I think I do think he goes to Newcastle. I know you're sort of, when we spoke about this on the other show, you're very much about it. But the other side of it is maybe he needs this move. Players sometimes become stale at a football club. We know he loves the club. We know he's a Manchester United fan. But I think sometimes it's just one of them things. A marriage ends and you both go separate ways. I always had a hope that he was going to be for Manchester United back in my sort of day of watching it, a Darren Fletcher of a big game player, a player that just got it in the big matches. You knew was going to turn up and was just going to churn out a performance. I don't see it happening. I don't think Ten Hag trusts him as a player. I think, as we've seen this season, Fred's played a lot of football. Now, is Fred the same player without Casemiro? Well, no, we know that. There's been a lot of football where we've seen Casemiro babysitting Fred, I think, in some games. But I think for McTominay, it was great he scored 4 goals in the international break, 2 goals against Spain, which, let's be honest, is phenomenal. It is for Scotland. But for his career, I think it's time. I think it's time he moves on, and I think he gets football elsewhere. And the thing is, he's not going to get week in, week out football at Manchester United. And that's not me giving a disservice to Newcastle United. That's not me saying that we're a better squad. What that's saying for me is we've got players in positions that are far better, I think, than Scott McTominay at Manchester United. Eddie Howe is developing a bit of a knack here for seeing players in a position for him. We look at Joe Linton when he come in. Nobody saw Joe Linton as just Mr. Utility for you guys. So it's one of them. Maybe he's seen something in McTominay, and next season we'll see a completely different side of him. Who knows? But as I say, for me, and I think for Manchester United fans on a whole, I think it's time he left at the end of the season. Yeah.
Chris, obviously you've heard what Dan's had to say. We had a little conversation about Scott McTominay last night, but what are your thoughts about not only the links and what Dan said in general, but obviously what he's done off the back of the international break as well?
Yeah, I mean, the international break, he's really he's kind of put himself in the window, so to speak, hasn't he? I think he did well in the previous game, to the Spain game as well, didn't he? Did he score a brace that game as well?
Yeah, he's got 4, hasn't he? He's got 4 in 2.
Jeez, yeah. I mean, do you know what? I was again, to refer back to the show last night, I watched the show back and I thought Richie hit the nail on the head, if I'm honest, because it's funny with Scott McTominay. Like, if Eddie Howe really wants him, then I'm happy with that, because, as Dan said, he's worked wonders with the majority of our players this season, which people don't give us enough credit for. People who don't really look into it just say, "Oh, Newcastle have spent loads of money. That's why Newcastle are where they are." It's not. It's because of Eddie Howe and his coaching. Yes, we've had some money to spend, but we got outspent by Forest, West Ham, etc. Chelsea. I could go on, and we've performed really well, and that's down to Eddie Howe and his coaching staff. But in terms of McTominay, I think Dan's right as well. It doesn't really, like, you don't see him and think, oh, he's going to be brilliant. Now, and I'm probably quoting Rich here, but does Scott McTominay improve our squad? Yeah. Does Scott McTominay ease his way into our 11? I'd say no. Even though having a Scott McTominay would then push Bruno further forwards, which is what we all want. I just worry more than anything about the price of him, because for me, if we were to get Scott McTominay for, say, 20, 30 million, I could live with that. But if it was 40 or north of 40, I just don't think there's enough there for me. But then again, as I kind of referred to earlier, Eddie Howe gets, really, he does really well out of his players, doesn't he? And he coaches them and he brings them on, and they start performing in the way that he needs them to. And I just think it's a difficult one. I really, really do. Like, if he comes in, I'll support him, and obviously I'll be behind him and everything like that. But I just think nowadays you need more than just an engine as your number 6, especially if you want him to be challenging at the top end of the league table. Like, you need more. Same way Man United need more. He's probably a good utility player, but you go out and spend 40 million on a utility player. No, I don't think we're at that level yet.
I'll tell you the other question, sorry, to put back on the both of you here, is McTominay is a player, as we've seen, that Eddie Howe wants. You can, it's been mentioned now. With you guys teetering on Champions League football, you could get it this season. It's been a great season for you. European football, I think, is pretty much there for you guys. I think this is where we're going to start to see what the owners want, and if they're willing to back what Howe wants. Now, they've backed the players that Howe has brought in. Phenomenal. But with that taste now of the elite competition, are they going to say to him, we shouldn't be linked with a Scott McTominay. We want the names. This is where I think that this summer, I've said to Pete about this, I think it's going to be a really interesting summer for Newcastle to see the type of player you do bring in. Because, as you said, I don't watch Newcastle as much as you guys, but I do keep an eye. I don't think he's got many signings wrong, has he? I don't think he's got many signings wrong at all.
No, not at all. Like when we signed Dan Burn, when we signed Dan Burn, everyone was a bit like, Dan Burn, like, I know he's from Newcastle, but Matt Target, people were like, oh well, yeah, he's pretty decent. He's an improvement on what we've got. There was a few players, that we brought in, and people were and and it's like when we first brought Nick Pope in as well. People were saying, is he much better than Dubravka? Is he an upgrade on Dubravka?
I said at the start of the season. I said at the start of the season he was the signing of the season. For the price you got him, that guy is phenomenal. I love him. Nick Pope, he deserves a move like he's had at Newcastle. He deserves to test himself on a bigger stage than Burnley, and that's not a dig at Burnley. I just think I think he deserves it, and I think he's repaid that back, hasn't he? Other than the mistake against Liverpool, I think he's phenomenal for you. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
100%. What was that? 12 clean sheets this season. Like, it's he must be loving it, because he was peppered week in, week out at Burnley, and now he's going through games sometimes this season where he hasn't had a save to make. It's So
oh, we lost Pete.
Loves it, doesn't he?
Looks like we've lost Pete. But Dan, do you know what I'm going to do? Because we've got so many star questions, I'm going to ask you a few of these questions, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Because, and I want to start off with this one actually, because Daz has asked this one. Daz from our channel, who you may have met before, and I'm interested to hear this as well. He wants to know, Dan, what are you planning for your new channel, and when you kick it off, UnitedFirst?
Yeah, so I wanted to start it halfway through the season, because I've predominantly been a lot of non-league football. That's where I started on YouTube. But my love's Manchester United. I go and watch Manchester United, and I found myself wanting to have that opinion. And I got the opportunity to go onto the 12th man, and then you guys have given me the opportunity to come onto here. And I thought to myself, I need to do something. So at the timing's not been great for it. I looked at it, I thought, I can't start it midway through the season. I can't do that because you need to build, I think, instead of just saying, hello, by the way, I'm Manchester United, come and watch my content. So the plan is pre-season, we're going to be going through the obviously covering the pre-season tour games, going through all the transfer news, of course. I've got a lot of ideas of some content to fill in between. My TikTok's been really good, actually. I'm 36, so I thought I was too old to use TikTok, but I seem to be getting some decent views on there, which is brilliant. So obviously, I can't be talking too much nonsense. So the plan is to start in pre-season. I've got all of the hard work done. I'm just waiting for a few things for the room behind me, because at the moment I'm sharing with the wife's makeup room. I won't show you too much of it. It's a bloody nightmare. So it's going to be sort of June time we kick off. I'm really excited, and in doing that, we're going to have the watch-alongs, post-match, pre-match. I'm going to be a very busy boy, and obviously getting you guys involved like you have with myself. So yeah, interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited for the summer.
It's good, mate. Really, really looking forward to it. We as you know, we started out.
More questions, Dan's way.
Oh yeah, sorry, Pete. Yeah, absolutely, mate.
My internet's in and out. And Craig Lee just put, "Have I got Daz's internet?" I think he might have passed it on to me tonight.
No, absolutely, mate. Okay, so I'm going to, do you know what, Dan, I'm going to ask you my question. This is a question I've never done this before, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So question for Dan and Teddy. With Man United on 50 points, Spurs on 49, Newcastle on 47, and Liverpool, Brighton and Brentford all on 42, like we saw earlier. Are you confident that top four is done and dusted for you, Man United? And the reason I'm asking you that question is because a couple of weeks back, when we're all aspiring for top four, we were looking at the league table and going, right, well, discount Arsenal, Man City, Man United, because the top three's set. We're just hoping to get that fourth spot. I mean, things look a little bit different a few weeks on, but are you of that mindset that as far as you're concerned, without being too cocky, are you feeling pretty confident that the top four is sealed, or do you have a little bit of worry around the likes of us, Liverpool and Tottenham?
I don't think I have. Do you know what? There's a concern. There's always a concern. But I think the job that Ten Hag has done this season, I don't think he allows the mentality to drop. And I don't think I just don't think we drop into fifth, sixth. I think what's helped United, and I think it's helped you guys, is obviously Liverpool being so inconsistent. They absolutely demolished us, and then they go and lose to Bournemouth. They've got City. And it's the whole Spurs thing. I mean, that is just a mess upon mess. The director of football this week has been told he's not allowed to have anything to do with football due to his Juventus links. I just feel, and I hope, that Newcastle and Manchester United will be okay now. I think there's too much going on around them clubs for us to be dragged into it. I mean, obviously the points here, I've got, as you said, Brighton and Brentford are on 42 points. We've got to play them both. I'm a lot more confident we're a bit further along now than when we played them last time. Obviously lost to both start of the season. The other side of it as well is, as well as Casemiro missing a few games, he's going to be a lot fresher when he comes back for the other games. Yeah. So we've got Eriksen to come back. We've got him to come back. I kind of feel like top four, we're going to be okay. But my take on it has been, and I don't know if Pete remembers this. I don't know if Pete's froze. Is he froze, or is he just really good at holding a pose there?
I think he might have froze again.
That's brilliant. My comment I made on the other channel on Football's 12 Man was, due to the volume of games that Manchester United have got coming, I still see Newcastle finishing third. I don't want us to finish fourth. I want us to finish third and to be comfortable. But I just think with the sheer amount of volume of games Manchester United have, the travel that's going to be involved because it's the Europa League, it's Thursday, Sunday. I just think, as long as we get that top four, I'm happy. And that's the job done for me for the season. Of course, we're Manchester United, and a lot of fans will say we deserve to be top. We don't deserve to be top. We don't deserve to be anywhere near there. Pete will back me when I say that we were never in a title race. We were never anywhere near it. We were never ready. This season has been about getting some respect back, bar the Liverpool result, and winning a trophy and getting that top four. So yeah, I'm confident that we finish top four. I'm confident we finish top four.
Yeah. And are you saying, are you saying from that, Dan, that you think Newcastle are going to finish third and that you're going to finish fourth?
That's what I think. I just think, as I said, What you'll get with me, Chris, I'm not the United fan that says of course we're going to finish third. There has to be a hint of realism, and the realism in this is we have got a lot of football left to play, and we've played the most games across Europe. So for this team to still keep going and doing what they're doing, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be results that we're going to go, oh, Christ, we could have done without that. But I still back us to finish top four. The other side of it as well is if we win the 2 games in hand on Spurs like you, well, we kind of pull away a bit there because Liverpool have still these 3 fixtures that Liverpool have got coming. This defines their season. This defines their season. Spurs, I think Spurs have got a couple of dice. We've still got to play Spurs as well. So yeah, I think we're going to know in the next 3 or 4 weeks who's up there.
We can have a look at some of the fixtures now because we've got them here. The Premier League put them out earlier. So we've got yours on there running to the end of the season. You've just talked about Spurs. They go to Everton on Monday. Then they've got Brighton, who are flying high at the moment, Bournemouth, and then they've got to come to us. And then you, and then Liverpool. So they've got a run of fixtures there that are tough. It's not easy. And then you flick on the other side, you've got Newcastle's here. You've got obviously Newcastle. From our perspective, we know Newcastle's fixtures, but you look at Liverpool's and they've got Chelsea and Man City all within a short space of time. Then they've got Arsenal. Then they get. How are they feeling after that? Are they reeling from defeats or are they buzzing from wins? And then they've got to go to Leeds who are scrapping for their lives. It's not easy. It looks. You look at those Leeds, Forest, West Ham. They're all down there. They're all desperate for points. They're all going to be scrapping. And you've got them one after another. At some point, something might give, especially with their defence. So you just don't know.
I agree. I think the other side of it as well, Pete, is it's not a bottom 5 battling, is it? It's from 12th down. So each and every one of them teams, and there's 4 points in it, they are literally going to be scrapping and battling. So it's going to be interesting. I've got to be honest, take away my obvious love that Liverpool have been absolutely shocking this season. I can take the 7-0 if it means they finish like they have. It's been a cracking season, hasn't it? It's been a cracking season, for just sheer shock. Chelsea, nobody expected Chelsea to be as bad as they've been. Nobody expected Liverpool, the mentality monsters, to do what they've done. And nobody expected Arsenal to not only get out in front, but keep continuously doing it. So I think it's been a great season. A lot of the fans of the clubs who have been poor have said, oh, it's a terrible season, write it off. I've really enjoyed it. And as I said, that bottom 12, that is fascinating. That's going down to the wire. That is going down to the wire. So, yeah, who would imagine not loving football, eh?
I know.
Yeah, it's going to be class. And look, from our perspective, Chris, I think we're just happy that we're looking down there and not actually being a part of it for a change. I think.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Do you know what? It's a really good point Dan made there as well. When I got the league table up before, Pete, I couldn't believe the gap between 12th and 13th. Or is it 11th and 12th? It's huge, isn't it? It's like 11 points. So you can already see that gap. It's just everyone else is submerging down. And we're all just pulling away. And Pete, you're absolutely spot on. It's fantastic that we don't have to worry ourselves with that anymore. Because Dan, over the last however long, I know you'll have been speaking to Pete ages about it. It's just been horrendous. Most seasons, we're just thinking, oh God, just stay up.
It's been a shame. It has been a shame because, as I say, Newcastle are a club ever since, this is going to sound terrible. I'm probably going to get battered for this, but ever since watching Goal, and watching Goal, I've always had that little thing for Newcastle. You know what I mean? Santiago Munez, absolutely brilliant. And so it's always been one of them things with Newcastle. You've gone through the ringers. I mean, Mike Ashley was. He's worse than the Glazers, wasn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, you look at what he's done with Coventry now, kicked them out of their ground. You've had to go through it. You've had to go through, obviously, the Steve Bruce era. You got the relegation. But the one thing that always just amazes me about Newcastle, I'm trying not to give you too much flowers here, but it's just the fan base. You know what I mean? The Championship, you are still pulling in the fans that you get. And I think they've deserved this. You've really deserved this after all the crap you've gone through. For your boys to be watching, and girls, sorry, Lisa, and the ladies out there, to have this season, it's been phenomenal for you. It's been a real good feel-good story, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Pete, can we have Dan on every week? Brilliant.
I can't promise I'll be like this Monday morning if you beat us.
Hey, I've seen him when he's not been happy. But no, look, yeah, absolutely spot on, mate. And look, Chris, this is why we get the guests that we do on away days, because they know their stuff, and there's clearly mutual respect there. That's for sure. So, yeah. Cracking stuff. Any more questions before we move to the next segment?
I was going to say, I've got one more question to ask Dan. We've got loads of questions, Dan, so we may come to them a bit later on as well.
Of course, no
but
worries.
Just one more question before we move on, and this is quite an important one, actually. Michael Pomar asks, would you rather spend 2 weeks on a desert island with only Dan Lawless as company, or be forced to strip naked and run around Newcastle city centre after the game on Sunday?
Do you know something? I've probably done the latter. I've done the latter in Birmingham, so it's. Do you know what? I mean, I give that man so much stick, but to spend 2 weeks with him on a desert island, I think, honestly, I'd rather have Liverpool tattooed on my neck than spend a day on an island than that place. I love him to death. Honestly, he's the gift that keeps on giving. But no, Christ no, definitely not.
You'd have to say you're not talking about football, period. You just say, listen, we're not talking about football.
Well, he doesn't talk about football, really, does he? He hasn't got a bloody clue. He just bloody, honestly. Oh, Christ almighty. What a guy.
Nah, he's a great guy. But yeah, he don't often know how to wind people up. That's for sure. But look, we'll come back to some of those questions in a sec, because I know there's some absolute crackers in there. But yeah, I think it's probably about time for some stats, I think.
Evening, lads.
Evening, Keith.
Like magic, he appears. Good evening, Keith. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I hope you guys are well too. I just thought I'd drop in.
Yeah. Just drop in. Just why not? Just drop in. Share your knowledge with the world. Old quizmaster. Why not? But,
well played by all, by the way, last week. I thought that was a superb show and a superb idea as well to help tide us through while international break was on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good quiz, good laugh. Some questions harder than others, but look, not for you. Yeah, great all round. But look, always a pleasure to have you on away days. And what stats have you got for us this week?
I'd just like to warn everybody in advance, everybody here included. Okay, just those who are quite easily distressed might just want to look away now.
Oh no!
Strap yourselves in. I will try and make it positive as much as I can throughout this, but you can't deny history in recent times with Man United and Newcastle over the last 20-25 years. The overall record of fixtures in the Premier League since 93-94 for Newcastle is heavily weighted towards Man United. Played 55 games, won 7, Newcastle have. They've drawn 16 and they've lost 32. A clear advantage to Man United there. Newcastle's record as well at St James's Park in the Premier League, played 27, won 6, drawn 7 and lost 14, scoring 34 goals and conceding 50 goals to Man United in those fixtures. So Newcastle, they've scored those goals overall as well in the overall fixture, scored 55 goals against Man United, and were conceded more than any other side. They've conceded 113 goals to Man United, which is Newcastle's worst against any team. There's been only 6 draws, 0-0 draws in 55 games as well, since the 93-94, and the last game at Old Trafford in the Premier League was a 0-0 draw as well. Newcastle have won 3 of their last 18 games against Man United by the same score, 1-0. So those 3 victories all by the same score. Moving on to managers here, Eddie Howe, his record against Man United. Again, I'll add the disclaimer that most of this was when he was manager against Bournemouth. He's managed 13 games, won 2, drawn 3, and lost 8. So he can get the odd result against Man United. Goalkeepers, how do they fare? Nick Pope, he's got 12 clean sheets in 26 games for Newcastle. Similar record to David De Gea, 11 clean sheets in 26 league games for Man United this season. Players, focus on Marcus Rashford here. The man of the moment, certainly this season for Man United and for England. Marcus Rashford scored 14 goals in 26 Premier League games this season, and he's scored a season best 27 goals in 44 games in all competitions for Man United. No player has scored more winning goals in the Premier League this season than Marcus Rashford has for Man United, with 9 winning goals. And Marcus Rashford alone has a brilliant record against Newcastle. He's been involved in a career best 7 goals in 9 games against Newcastle. He's scored 4 and assisted 3. And also as well, a couple of other Man United players I wanted to talk about as well, Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. They have 7 and 6 goal scoring assists as well each for Man United this season. And Bruno Fernandes, he's ranked 2nd in big chances created in the Premier League this season for Man United, 19 big chances. Whereas conversely for Newcastle, Kieran Trippier, he's ranked 3rd in big chances created in the Premier League, 18 for Newcastle. And he's also has the highest number of completed crosses for Newcastle, with 267 completed crosses this season. Alan Saint-Maximin always seems to divide opinion this season, but he's fared quite well against Man United, scoring twice in 3 Premier League games against Man United. Some general stats to round off here. Newcastle are winless in 6 Premier League games against Man United, although the last 2 have been draws, so it's 2 draws and 4 defeats in the last 6. Newcastle have not gone 3 league games without defeat against Man United since January 2012, which was a memorable 3-0 New Year result for Newcastle at St James's. And Man United haven't lost to Newcastle in the last 7 in all competitions, including the Carling Cup final, 5 wins and 2 draws. Man United have also won more Premier League away games against Newcastle than any other side as well, with 14 away wins at St James's Park. Newcastle had a good record against Man United at St James's until the early 2000s, and then after that, for a long while, it was all Man United. However, they have lost 2 of their past 5 games at St James's Park. Previous before that, they'd only lost 1 in the last 13 at St James's Park, in a run that went back to about 2001 with the infamous and brilliant 4-3 win for Newcastle that day. And the last stat is Man United have failed to score in the last 2 league games, and that's as many times as in their first 24 games this season. The last time that they went 3 games without a goal was back in February 2020. So that just shows you how brilliant Man United have been attacking wise and how they've improved this season alone. And that rounds off the stats. I hope that wasn't too bad for you and everybody.
was good.
No, spot on.
I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing here. You're trying to fill me with more confidence, so I sit here and say, "That's it. Yeah, we're going to absolutely smack." I'm not doing it.
Come and dance to our beat, Dan. Come and dance to our beat. But no, look, we always appreciate Keith taking the time to put those fantastic stats together, and they are the weirdest stats around, and they give us an opinion of how the game's going to go. Certainly at St James's Park. So, as we always say, stats are there to be broken. Certainly from our perspective, after the 15 years we've had previous, we're here to break those stats now and turn them into more positive ones. And look, from our perspective, I'm sure you agree, Chris, as well. This is the aim starting Sunday.
It is. I just think there's so much. After hearing those stats, now I'm kind of like, oh bollocks. Just honestly. It's always do you know what though? Other than a couple of like 0-0s, there's been some classics, hasn't there, in this fixture in the past? There's been some absolute belters. I'm
thinking as well here about not only the 4-3 at St James's, but there was also another 4-3, I think, on Boxing Day, wasn't there? I think was that Fergie's last season where Cisse grabbed a couple of goals. I think that was quite a mini classic as well.
Yeah, there's been some stunners, absolute stunners. I hope it's not on Sunday. I just can't take another. My Sunday league team are manager in the cup Sunday morning, and we're playing a team 2 divisions above us. So I could just do with something nice and easy, please, Sunday, because I don't think I'm going to be ready.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be in for one of their ones. I certainly hope you're not. But what would you say? Question for you, Dan. What would you say is your most memorable win against Newcastle United? One that you put out there at the biggest?
Oh, for me, it's always going to be the FA Cup 2-0, the treble season. I just, honestly, everything fell into place for me there. Especially when Keane went off injured sort of first half, I was like, oh, Christ almighty. And it was just part of a memorable 3 or 4 weeks that I'll never ever forget, and I'll never live that moment again in my lifetime. It was just stunning for me.
I'm interested to find out. Obviously, there might be an obvious one out there, but is there a game for you, Chris and Keith, that stands out that's memorable to you against Man United? Oh, there's the obvious ones, of course.
Yeah, I mean the most. I'm trying to remember the year. It was the 3-0 where Demba Ba got a brace.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what year that was.
When we finished 5th, I think.
Was that the 11-12 year?
No.
Do you know what annoyed me about that was the build up to that? I had to sit there and listen about how Demba Ba liked strawberry syrup.
Yeah,
We
just obsessed with it.
Wasn't it? So what do you do in your pre-match? Well, I really love strawberry syrup, and I thought, this guy, we're going to smash these lads tonight. Bang, 3-0.
I think as well. I think Rooney. There was some stories about Rooney at the time. Rooney was in a bit of a trouble as well over the Christmas and New Year, so that result hadn't helped things for Man United at the time. But for me, there's 2 results for me that I remember. One of them is the Newcastle one, and again, it was sort of because Newcastle were going through a period of transition at the time, and it was. I couldn't believe that we were actually beating Man United the way we were. It was my favourite season, 1999-2000, under Sir Bobby Robson, the awful start we had under Hullett, and it was beating Man United 3-0. I remember where I was at work at the time, Newcastle going 2-0 up through Shiro. And it was like Duncan Ferguson, at the beginning.
Was that
and then
the turn
Shiro,
where he hit it?
Yeah, the next 2. It was like I was walking on it. I could not believe it. It like made me day. And again, that revenge factor from the FA Cup the previous year of how gutted I was when Newcastle were losing 2-0 in that one. Yeah. And the other one that I remembered as well is the Newcastle. Well, it's the Man United 0, Newcastle United 1 at Old Trafford, because I never ever thought I'd see the day when Newcastle would get a result, and it was Kabay and Newcastle were in the yellow shirts at the Stretford end. I just could not believe. I mean, not to take anything away, I knew Newcastle, Man United was so bad that year, but it was just brilliant to see Newcastle actually get a result down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to add as well.
Pardew then.
Yeah,
It would have been 2013, 14, yeah.
The infamous 8-year contract.
Yeah.
Oh God. What were you going to say, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to say, and just thinking of Man United Newcastle games as well. Other than obviously Newcastle goals, which will probably always be my favourite. My favourite non-Newcastle goal was that goal that Rooney scored, where he was moaning at the referee, and then he just turned around, seen the ball, pinged it. And Shea Given just had no chance. Like, it was just like that goal, even now, like, gets shivers on my spine thinking about it, because I remember watching it and just thinking, wow.
He loved playing Newcastle, didn't he? He had a good record against Newcastle, Rooney.
Can you as well remember the goal that Darren Ambrose scored before that?
Yeah,
I think it put Newcastle in the lead, yeah.
For horrible reasons, I always remember the game where Genius scores the absolute rasper at St James's Park really early on, and he does the old celebration that him and Shoulder and Guy used to do, and I was like, we're off for a master. I was thinking 5-0. I'm thinking it's coming, and then we just got blown away. We just got blown away. 6-2. I think it was in the end. And I remember coming away from that so deflated, because the way we started like a house on fire. Man, you didn't know what to do. We were fantastic, and then we got the goal.
Do you know what though? United we were blessed back then, Man United, because under Ferguson, we could be 2-0 down 89th minute. We just knew that if we got a chance, we weren't out of it, and that's we've obviously been brought crashing back down to earth, in the last 10 years as to what happens when you do concede, and having that mentality to push on, but. That game, the 6-2 one, I remember that. Wasn't there 2 screamers? Didn't Shearer score a belter as well in that one?
I think the next one who got the goal after that, it was when Man United was 6-1, and it was the Amiobi who got the consolation for Newcastle. I think you might be talking about the game earlier in the season from the free kick. 5-3.
The Bernard cross.
I'll never forget him getting knocked out cold. Was it Robert who absolutely smashed the ball at him, and he just does the steps and off he goes?
You don't want to get in the way of Robert when he strikes the ball.
No, definitely. I remember that at Leicester. I remember all the fans, all their fans laughing and going mad. We thought it was just we thought it was messing around, like get up, but he was genuinely out cold.
Gone.
He was gone.
There was the one at Old Trafford. So the Bernard goal, and then there was the Shearer free kick. I think he hit a milestone that game, and I can't remember what the milestone was by scoring that goal. But yeah, great strikes. There's been some classics down the years. There was the Shearer Keane fight where Keane gets sent off.
The red card.
Yeah.
I think Keane was like aimed a ball at him or something, and then
It was. Do you know what annoyed me about that? I mean, I love Shearer. Shearer was my era growing up watching England, and I loved him. But it was just when he got the slap, and he's like at the referee going, and I was like, "Oh, come on, Shearer, you're making it fucking worse now." And to be fair, Shearer and Keane, I didn't realise the blind hatred they actually had for each other. That is proper hatred, isn't it? They do not.
Even now.
Yeah, even now. Yeah.
But they've been. I think Shearer might have mentioned it, actually. I think they've both been offered a lot of money to go on a panel together, like to talk. Like I think Keane and Vieira have done it since, and they obviously have their rivalry, but they both refused to do it. I think,
was it on the Neville podcast, the Overlap or something, where it was certainly on one show where there was a question posed, and I think Keane said, "Look, there was just one, I couldn't get past it," and he was indicating about Shearer. And I know Shearer has been quite complimentary on the Match of the Day podcasts about Keane, but there definitely is something, and it was amped up more at the time, because Shearer used to give as good as he got in some of those challenges, even when he was at Blackburn with Keane,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it stems from the fact that he turned Man U down? He didn't sign for Man U. I think that's why he hates it.
Or it might be the other way around, because people forget Keane turned Blackburn down when Shearer was there, didn't he? Yeah. He turned. There's that famous story that Dalglish rang him and said, "Where are you?" "Well, I'm on holiday. I'm going to Iron Apple. Well, I'm going to find you and I'm going to slap you. So I don't know. It's one of them. I mean, it's also one of them things, isn't it? I mean, I think in a team together, they'd have been great.
You forget as well at the time, the early 90s to the mid 90s, that was a hell of a rivalry between Blackburn and Man United, both going for the title that year. For those couple of years, it was quite intense.
It was also, but it was bittersweet for United because obviously then they went and got relegated, didn't they? 98-99 with Brian Kidd in charge. Brian Kidd left Manchester United in not the most positive of ways, and they got relegated. So, yeah, I mean, as my early memories, you know, I was born in '86, so watching Blackburn win the league and then watch them go down, and it was a catastrophe, wasn't it? Because they spent all that money to bring the players in, and it just folded, didn't it? It went the complete wrong way.
Yeah, definitely. I want to look at tactics just before we get to predictions and move on. But I know Kenzie in the chat just mentioned about Terry a number of times. Now, Terry, I've been speaking to him and he has apologised. His show ran over through one or two guests that arrived late for his show. His show's only just finished, but he has to travel to get home in order to set up for us. So he may make it, he may not, but it depends on how long we run, really. I don't fancy doing a 4-hour show again. I still get ridiculed after the last time I did that, after a lot of brandy. But yeah, we'll see.
You on brandy, Pete. I love you on brandy, mate.
You love me on brandy.
My guy gets loose. My guy gets loose.
When anyone watched the Christmas version of the Talk Man, you know what I mean. You know what that means. Yeah, I do want to look at some tactics because Dan has given us our predicted 11. So for Man United, we've got our predicted 11 for Newcastle. So let's get them on the screen and have a little look. So this is your team, Dan, from a Man United perspective. Does that seem right in terms of the layout, the setup?
Yeah. I think the only one I'm a bit concerned about, and Pete, you'll know this from our time on the 12th man, is my absolute hatred of Anthony, and I just worry that he could start on Sunday. And you know something? I put this out there, and I say this to every Premier League manager, be they watching or any ever Premier League fan: if you can't defend against a man who does not have a right foot, then there's something seriously wrong, because his goals have been every time this season, cuts in on his left, goes for goal. But that team, that's where I see us going. I know he's toyed a little bit with Weghorst sort of playing in that cam role and Rashford going up top, but I just think with players available, that's what we'll see. And actually, Wan-Bissaka's been really good this season. Dalot at the start of the season was fantastic, got injured on international duty, and Wan-Bissaka's come back in and really give a good account of himself. So that's my team. That's who I think will start.
So how do you think, before we come to Chris and Keith, from a Newcastle perspective, how do you think you guys are going to win the game? How does it normally play out for you guys, particularly away from home as well? Because you do play slightly different away from home.
Yeah, we do look more on the counter, don't we? We do tend to counter a lot away from home. I think the battle is obviously the midfield. That midfield battle is going to be so key. I mean, look at the players you got in there: Fernandes, Bruno, Joelinton, Sabitzer, Fred, Longstaff. I think United have got to be bold. They've got to be bold now in this game, because the one thing about Newcastle you see is they are very tight, aren't they, at the back? I don't think you can see you've been absolutely pummeled this season, have you? So it's gonna be a Willoquinho. I'd love that. Absolutely love that. I just clocked that. It's gonna be a midfield battle. Now, the thing for me, looking what Manchester United did against Fulham, and I think could be key in this game, is if it's not working with Weghorst up top, and we see Rashford go into the middle and see maybe Sancho come on or a Palestri come on, is I would quite like to see Fernandes drop back a little bit if we're missing that creativity. He did it against Fulham before they went down to 9 men, and I think it was quite effective. Sabitzer and Fred have been known to obviously move forward, push forward, and we're going to have to be careful in this game, because as I said before, Casemiro is so disciplined in being that last line in the midfield. So the midfield battle is going to be interesting, but it's going to be a game where I think there needs to be discipline, but also I think we need to look look at the wing play. Look at the wing play, because Anthony doesn't offer too much on the right, and I worry that we overgo on the left. So I just feel like in the midfield, if we can win that battle and not have to rely too much on Weghorst dropping deep to anything, we should be okay.
No, fair play. So look, there might be times where Fernandes is coming this deep to kind of receive the ball, with these guys coming forward to kind of press and be part of the attack. That's an interesting way of operating, particularly with our midfield and how strong they can be, not just from a physical point of view, from a fitness point of view. But look, Chris, I'll come to you. This is the team that I've gone for. I mean, look, we could do anything with this. We could switch it back to this and vice versa. But this is the team we talked about last night. But this is the team that I think, in my opinion, and maybe in yours as well, that's going to start, maybe should start the game. But what are your thoughts about that, and where do you see his potential to winning the game on Sunday?
Yeah, do you know what, Pete? This is probably one of the easiest weeks that I can remember in terms of what I think the starting 11 should be, despite the fact we've probably got the most available fit players that we've had. Like, Jacob Murphy has got to start. I think it'd be really, really, really unlucky. Even if Gordon or Miggy are fit, I think it'd be very, very harsh to drop Jacob Murphy. And I think, do you know what? I've not actually had the chance to speak to you on show about this, but the difference he's made since he's come in at right midfield, and you know, we all used to have a little moan, didn't we, when he'd come on, and we'd be like, "Oh, here we go, Jacob Murphy." But something's happened, whether it's in training with Eddie R, whether the penny's dropped, I don't know. But he's now added another dimension to our attack, and now I love seeing Jacob Murphy get on the ball, because I know in my head I'm thinking this ball's going to get whipped in. This ball's going to get whipped in at pace in the right area, and Isak's going to gobble it up.
Chris, does that have anything to do with Trippier behind him? Because Trippier, I think this is a lot of things I've seen with Newcastle since he's come in there. He's not only playing that captain's role, I've seen him coach a lot of players on the pitch. And is that the same with Murphy? Because as you say, Murphy's been hit and miss, and I think he's been a sort of like McTominay with us. Some fans want him playing, some fans don't. But again, I just wonder with Trippier behind him, and he is putting those balls in a lot more. Is that a direct result of that?
Do you know what, Dan? It's a great shout, and you could well be right. I mean, we've seen this season, Dan, which you'll have probably noticed yourself. Like, Miggy Almiron's probably been our best player, and again, that links in with what you're saying. You know, about Trippier behind him, you know, leading him, bringing him on. Fabian Schär's been absolutely outstanding at centre back, and having Kevin Trippier next to him, I think it's no coincidence that, you know, we do see these levels, or the raised levels of performance. And I think I'm right, Pete, in saying, aren't I, that when Murphy was coming on in his cameo roles, he did come on as left wing on I'd say a lot of them. So the fact that he's now been put on right wing, and he's probably just been told, get that ball in the box, just get it in early for Isak, because Isak will be there in and around that, you know, that danger area. And then we've got the likes of Willock running into the box, Joe Linton, Longstaff, Bruno when he's, you know, playing a bit further forward. So yeah, I mean, that's been a massive difference for me. I think the only thing I was going to say, Pete, at the very start, which you've changed now, is I probably would have put Joe Linton on the left. Now, I'm like you, I prefer Joe Linton in the middle. But as we know, Willock and Joe Linton are very interchangeable. Like, through that game, they will swap roles. And I love seeing Willock bombing down that left wing, because he's just got that turn of pace, which is quite deceiving. So some players aren't aware of it. I mean, Dan, I don't know if you saw it, when we played Man City earlier on in the season, there's a clip of Joe Willock picking the ball up, and he puts it past Kyle Walker and just absolutely smokes him. And not many people know he's got that turn of pace. So traveling with the ball, Joe Willock's absolutely fantastic, and he brings a lot of legs to the midfield. But he also gives us that stretch, and as well as Joe Linton, he's got that defensive mindset. Because he's used to playing in that central role, he will come back and do his defensive duties. And going forward, that's where we've kind of, all of us, Pete and Keith, I'm sure you'll agree, we've all kind of not switched off from Maxi, but we're all kind of seeing the benefit of a team of 11 players all knowing their roles and doing both ends of the jobs, you know, not just doing particularly well in one end. We're expecting, you know, that defensive side, or that defensive mindedness, which we need, especially when we come up against teams like Man United and other top four clubs. You know, we're going to have to, you know, have that in mind. But in terms of the where the game's going to be won, I mean, straight away, I have worries when I see Anthony coming up against Burn. We've been saying this all season, Dan. Like Anthony, or any particularly quick winger. I totally get your point when you say, any left back or centre back with his weight and goals would know to show Anthony on his right foot. They'd know to do that. And on occasion it hasn't happened. I think was it against Sporting? Were you playing? Oh, was it Sporting?
No,
it was Europa League, wasn't it?
Europa League. Oh, against Betis.
Yeah, and he just turned inside. It was a great finish, but you kind of were saying to yourself, why have you let him go in on his left foot? Why have you done it? And that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on certainly at the weekends, because I hope that Sven Botman, who's been brilliant all season, provides enough support for Dan Burn. I'm sure Joe Linton and Willock will provide enough support, and that's something that we've got to be mindful of. But going forward for Newcastle, the key one for me is, like you said earlier, Dan, the Trippier and Murphy link-up. The more we get that ball in the box, we know how mobile and how good Isak is at using the space up in the box. He's not like your traditional striker who will just stand there waiting for the ball. He'll pop up in all these different pockets. He'll stretch defenders. No doubt he'll probably hang off either Varane or Martinez and try and pull them out. And then that will then give the likes of Longstaff, Willock, Joe Linton, whoever, running into the box, that little bit of space. And hopefully that's where we make the inroads. I'm open anyway.
Yeah. Keith, anything to add? Anything that you see from a different perspective with regards to Newcastle and where we could win the game?
I'm just looking and see who we'll bring on, really, second half. I agree with the points made about Murphy. I think if you're looking at a player who's one of the most improved players for Newcastle this season, it's got to be Murphy, really. He's really came on. It's almost like he's a lot stronger now than he was when he first signed for the club, physically. So I wouldn't really change the team from last time out, really, as such. I know that Joe Linton's coming back into the team, and I think it's funny that it's a bit strange coincidence that both games that he missed were actually won those games. I'm not sure if there's any real parallels with that, but it's as an unusual coincidence. But I would look to the team to say who we're going to bring on in the second half. If we need to change things up, would we automatically bring on Gordon now instead of ESM? If we're still, if the game's level and we're looking to win a game, maybe Almiron as well on the other side, as well for the legs as well. If you want to try and stretch Man United in the second half, that's what I'm thinking. But I think in answer to your question as well about where the game's going to be won and lost as well, I'd also add to the points about what Chris was talking about there, the strikers as well. This could be a game where Isak produces a bit of magic, and Rashford's been irrepressible as well in front of goal as well. He had that long run of about, was it 9 games or so in a row where he'd scored. So this could be a game where both strikers for both clubs make a mark.
Definitely. I think there's some really good points there, particularly, you mentioned the subs as well. We talked about it as well. If Almiron's not fit and he doesn't play, having ASM and Gordon to come on and replace the two wingers that are there and completely freshen up the attack later on in the game could be the difference. Wilson coming on. If we're chasing the game, do you bring Wilson on and keep Isak on and have the two on the pitch like we did against Fulham? Could be the difference. But we've got loads of attacking options for the first time in a long time to come off the bench. You talked about, Chris, about Joe Linton and the kind of transitioning between the two. But what you'll find in long parts of the game is these three here as a three. And they'll come in, and you'll find that Joe Linton will do just as much running in this middle area here as you then see him a few seconds later making runs against Wan-Bissaka here, because his energy levels are fantastic. And equally, Willock will be doing the same. And so Wan-Bissaka, as good a defender as he is, won't know who he needs to track out the two, because 1 minute Joe Linton will be there, the next minute Willock will be there. And what you'll find is when they connect together, they're not too far apart. So you'll see this, and you might see this, at times during the game with Isak making runs in and around. And what you also might find is this. You'll find them two connecting up. Isak likes to drift off to the left, and we need someone in the middle. So you'll find here pushing on here, Trippier here, Murphy looking at the back, and Willock being the man in the middle. I've seen Willock start to do that a little bit more, and he's opened up his game off the back of that. So there's some things that you'll start to see with that. But I would go with this. This is the tried and trusted. This is what got us into the position that we are right now. And it's interesting, Dan, that you mentioned about Kieran Trippier and Murphy, because I think you're absolutely right. I think, Chris and Keith are in agreement too. Trippier just makes players better.
Yeah.
He just makes players better. What you'll have what Shaw will have here is that Shaw, as good as he is going forward, will need to be on his point here, because Murphy is just that old style, old school right winger, Keith Gillespie, Andre Kanchelskis, those type of players that will just get the ball and just run at you and put a ball in. It's the old style 90s, early 2000 winger that you'll come to expect. And he's really simplified his game, and he's made himself really, really important to this team. And so that's what he'll do. He'll make those runs in. And if he makes the runs inside, Trippier's there. So you've got to make sure that whoever's covering Fred, Rashford, that they're doing their job defensively, because Trippier's not afraid to get forward. He's a risk player. He's a risk taker. And a lot of the times this season, his risks have paid off. And although the cup final, you may not have seen that as much, at St. James's Park, we fully expect it to happen. And I think, Chris, like you'll agree with it. Keith, you'll agree. You expect him to dominate in this area. This is where Trippier comes to life. He'll either play the ball down to Murphy that whip the ball in, or he'll make the run and put the ball in. And you'll find these little triangles here. We keep talking about it. We've talked about it all season, whether it's Longstaff or whether it's Bruno. We'll connect those little triangles here in this space. So what he does is going to be key to stop that. His movement and his stopping the run is going to be key in here. And then it's what Varane does with Isak in the box, because we saw it a lot against Forest, and we could have and probably should have scored a hell of a lot more goals off the back of it. So it's just something to look out for. But yet this area here is where potentially we're going to win the game, and it's whether Man United got the fitness to go 90 minutes against Newcastle at St. James's Park, because let's face it, at home, we do add an extra 5-10% to our game. We do have that little bit 10% extra in the tank, and we do go a lot harder for a lot longer, which is why our record at home has been very, very good this year. But what were we going to say, Dan? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think the other point to make is, and we've seen this so many times away from home for Manchester United this season, is what Rashford's very good at doing is when you've got the likes of Trippier, who, as you said, they do bomb forward. There is that worry that if Rashford is played in, he's not going to get caught. So it's whether or not Ten Hag will look at that system that you're talking about and think,
in here,
do we let Trippier push forward as far? Again, it all depends on how they line up. But Rashford against Trippier is going to be a really interesting test, I think, on Sunday, because as we know, Rashford's in the form of his life. He's confident. He's got a trick in him. He's taking shots now from all over the field, and more often than not, they're going on target. So I just wonder if you may see. I keep going to point at the screen. Whether you'll see that gap between Trippier and Murphy be a bit bigger than what it has been recent weeks. I'm not sure. The other interesting battle as well is, as you say about Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka has been so used to when he's playing, because Anthony doesn't do the tracking back as much. So there's no real connection on that right there as a defensive unit, but he has been very fortunate to have Casemiro dropping into those holes. So when there is a 2-on-1, you will see Casemiro. Do we see that with a Sabitzer, a Fred or a Fernandes making that cover? I'm not so sure this week. So I think Wan-Bissaka, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think Wan-Bissaka could be very, very busy on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting. We've just mentioned a number of different things there that could potentially happen during the game. Chris, Keith, anything before we wrap up on the tactics board?
I don't think so. No. Do you know what I was? I don't know how much time we've got, but it linked in with one of the questions. I don't know. We did this a while ago, didn't we, Pete? And Dan's a reasonable guy, so I'm half tempted to ask this question.
Here we go.
But somebody asked the question. Where is it? Oh, why can't I find it? Here we go. Genie Wijnaldum asked, question to both camps, which team's got the best centre-back pairing? Now, when that question came up, I was thinking, maybe because we haven't done it for a while, Pete, maybe we could do a combined 11. I mean, obviously we can kind of fast track it. And hopefully
that's what I thought you were going to do. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. With it being such a competitive game as well, and our teams, we're both kind of in a transitional period, but we're actually performing really well. And, it'd be interesting to just see where Dan would, give us some Newcastle players and where we give Dan some Man United players.
Chris, last time I mentioned anything about your centre-backs, Pete was hammered on our show and absolutely battered me.
I basically was hammered. It was like, your defence is shit.
That was lawless again. All I said was, I think Varane and Martinez are decent. Didn't even say anything, and then he come for me.
I've just got one more stat I want to just read out as well. Man United on the road. Well, Man United, only Bournemouth with 38, Nottingham Forest with 32, Leicester with 30 have conceded more away goals in the Premier League this season than Man United with 27. Now, that stat floored me, really, but I know that there was a little inflation at the start of the season when they were beat off Brentford, and that was a hammering, but still,
and
that's quite a lot.
As well. So you take that's 11 goals, isn't it?
Only in 4 different Premier League campaigns have Man United conceded more on the road as well. 29 in 99-2000, 2001-2, 28, 2018-19, 29, and 2021-22, 35. And there's still a way to go. So that suggests to me, especially that last one there from 21-22 where they conceded 35, they've still got some way to go with the defence on the road in their away games.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Thanks, Keith. You're really helping me with this.
I've got to address the balance with what I was saying earlier. I can't win. I get slaughtered by the Newcastle fans in the chat.
What did I say, Chris? Worryingly confident. No, he's just taking it away.
Balance the books, Keith. Balance the books. I like it. Everyone in the chat should be happy with that. Balance the books just a little bit. So combined, we're going to start goalkeepers. That might determine which side we work with. So,
well, do you know what? Again, I will, if you don't mind, Pete, I'll just quickly whiz this question up because Michael Beaumont asked this before. What's happening with De Gea in the summer? Is he gone?
Okay, so for me, I get a lot of stick from United fans. I don't think De Gea fits a Ten Hag team going forward. I think we've had to make do. There was a lot of signings coming in the summer. I look at De Gea when the ball's played back to him, and it just terrifies me. He is a great shot stopper. He and quite rightly too, should go down as one of the greatest shot stoppers to play in the Premier League. But he's not a modern-day goalkeeper for me. A modern-day goalkeeper is a sweeper goalkeeper that is confident of picking the ball up at the back and starting that phase confidently. He doesn't do that. We've seen it. It's crept back into his game a bit more the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks where he'll pick the ball up and he's turning the ball straight back over to their midfield. So, yeah, I think he goes. I do think he goes. I know he's obviously got this contract dispute at the moment. He's on £375,000 a week. That's a lot of money for a goalkeeper who has only won the Carabao Cup in the last 6 years. I think Manchester United are of an opinion now. We're not going to spend that much money. I know he was happy to drop that wage down, but I think Manchester United have perhaps come in with an offer where he said, I was happy to drop, but not that far. I think Manchester United are in the market for a keeper in the new season, who, as I said, can start that phase from the back. And the other side of it is the players do not. You guys probably have not watched it as much as I, and quite rightly so. But a lot of the times you'll see a Martinez or a Varane who will have the ball and the options on to play it to De Gea, and they are trying to play it wing backs or they're trying something else because they've just not got the confidence to play it to him, turn and know that the phase is started. So I think he's gone in the summer personally.
I mean, we saw that at Brentford, didn't we? Keith mentioned the Brentford game. I think there was one moment, was it Ericsson who played it back to him?
Yeah.
And he just flapped it, didn't he? And to be fair, Dan, Pete was just about to say something, then Pete may agree. This is an issue that we've got with Nick Pope, because, like you say, fantastic shot stopper, has been brilliant for us this season. No one's knocking him for that, but you can visibly see he's not that comfortable on the ball, and going forwards, that could be a problem.
I agree.
That's the one thing that lets him down. Is that the one thing I think he has ahead of De Gea? And look, De Gea's had a great career, winning trophies. He's done more than Nick Pope, but in isolation this season, what he has on De Gea is he's a better sweeper. He comes off his line so quickly, and he does. Obviously, the Liverpool mistake is the anomaly there, because normally he does sweep very, very well. The only thing about Nick Pope is when you give him the ball at the back, and I had question marks about why they were continuing to give him the ball after he made the mistake against Wolves, where it could arguably probably should have been a penalty for Jimenez, but they give him the ball because they trust him. It's clear from what you're saying that they don't trust De Gea with the ball. Yeah. But what De Gea does, and I actually love it, is if I was an attacker, I would love the fact that he does this, is that De Gea loves to stay on his line. That gives you an extra, as a striker, an extra 5 or 10 yards of space to run into to be able to shoot on goal. And for such a highly rated goalkeeper, I still don't get why he stays on his line so much. He's clearly not confident with it, but he's done it all of his career. And he gets away with it at times for shot stopping, but at times he has conceded some really sloppy goals.
Yeah. I agree. I think the other point that I always like to make about De Gea, and I liken this to goalkeepers who are in a team that's facing relegation. For the last sort of 6-7 years, people say, but look at his stats, how many shots he saved, how many, his percentages. Well, that's because he's been playing in a Manchester United side that have been defensively absolutely shocking. So quite rightly so, he's faced a lot more shots than an Ederson or an Alisson in his in his pomp before this season would do. I just don't think he fits Ten Hag's system. I honestly think Ten Hag wanted to have the conversation with Henderson in the summer when it went to go on tour, but Henderson point blank refused to go out on tour, said, no, I want to go and play football. I don't want to be an understudy, which, you can understand that. But I just think, and I agree with what Pete said, I think it's that modern day goalkeeper. It's the time for a goalkeeper who stays on his line and is just shot stopping is up for me. Don't get me wrong, there are saves. I mean, against Fulham in the FA Cup, he claws one at the top corner, and you think, well, only De Gea saves that. Yeah. But the confidence that the way that football's played now is your attacks start from the back. There's none of this. It's very rare you see it sort of lump and off we go. It is a sweeper keeper's era, I'm afraid. I mean, this is why you look at the likes of Spain. He doesn't play for Spain. Spain like to play football. Do you know what I mean? So I think it says all you need to know there.
I think De Gea has been a tremendous servant for Man United in a period of transition where Man United haven't been as good as we normally expect them to be. I think that's a key area for Man United where in the next season or so they're going to look to strengthen under Ten Hag, and which could take them to another level again.
No, I think that's fair, Keith. That's fair. So, I mean, based on that, then, Dan, are we comfortable having Nick Pope in?
Yeah, well, stats alone this season, he's got more clean sheets, hasn't he? So I'm not too disappointed in having Pope there. And also, as Keith quite rightly reminded me, goals conceded. It's not been when De Gea's, that's another thing with De Gea, when his head does drop, it drops to the floor, doesn't it? Against Liverpool, against Brentford, you didn't just see a player devoid of confidence. His confidence went back to Spain. It was gone, and I panicked every time he had a shot at him. Then, so I'm happy to put Pope in there.
Sorry, go on, Pete. Go on, mate.
All I was going to say is that I've manoeuvred, so we'll move De Gea away from that. Well, I'll keep him in goal there, but it's going from left to right in terms of the team. So we've got Pope in goal here. What I've done, I've just manoeuvred the likely players to play in these positions for both teams from what was on the screen. Obviously, we've got Casemiro missing from there as well. Add him in there. Caps.
Bane of my life, mate, in my job.
So yeah, you've got a pool of players in midfield. You've got your centre backs there, your left backs, your right backs, your right side of midfielders, your attackers, and your left sides. So where do you want to start, Chris?
I mean, do you know what? I think it's probably fair to start at left back because I think Pete and Keith will be in agreement with me that, you know, especially, it sounds harsh saying this, but, you know, in recent weeks, you could argue, like literally, Dan, a couple of months ago, like we were fighting Dan Burns' cause. We actually, when we were on with the Villa lads, Rich, I think we gave Rich Ashley Young, didn't we? Was it Ashley Young we give him?
Yeah,
It was, wasn't it? Which some of the chat didn't like. We give Ashley Young as a Dan Burn, but I think on this occasion, and we've deliberated this ourselves a few times when we've been talking about where we can improve the squad in the summer, and everybody openly says that, you know, going forward we need a new number one left back, and I think someone like Luke Shaw has to be in the 11. I mean, Keith, Pete, am I fair saying that?
Luke Shaw's had a great season. I don't know if Dan would agree. I think he's had a really good season this season. It's
the assists he brings as well. People forget that he does bring assists to his game. He's put, and he will. Yeah. He gets into that area which you can see on the screen where you've got SAM and Rashford. When he's in that position, he can put some stunning balls in there. I think it's a no-brainer. Shaw starts at left back.
He gives you that option, doesn't he? He gives the attacking option going forward. So yeah, which Burn won't give you really.
Yeah. So then if we go to right back, I mean, you were waxing lyrical about Kieran Trippier before, Dan. Would you put Kieran Trippier above?
Yeah, 100%. 100% for what Trippier brings to any team. It's not just his defensive capabilities or his attacking capabilities. It's his dead ball as well. He's unreal, isn't he? Consistent, which is what you need in a right back. This is why Gary Neville, hated by a lot of people, but the reason Gary Neville was so consistent, he was 7 out of 10 every game. Didn't do anything spectacular. It was 7 out of 10. And I think with your wing backs, if they're not going to be that attacking threat, that you need them to be consistent. And I think Trippier, as I said, over who we've got, Wan-Bissaka's too defensive. Dalot can sometimes be too attacking. I think Trippier's got a bit of both in there, and he's also got such a good tactical nous in his head, hasn't he? He reads the game really well, really well.
Most chances created of any player in the Premier League this season, Kieran Trippier.
It's not bad considering when you signed him, everyone said, "Oh, he's finished. He's come for the money."
Yeah, I mean? 13 million. We signed him for.
Well, did you see the interview with him about? Sorry, Pete. Did you see the interview with him about Simeone? Simeone begged him to stay, didn't he? Didn't want him to go. Absolutely adored him. You've got to be doing something right if the king of defensive, wants you to stay. So. Yeah, he walks into that, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Right.
I'm handing over to you, Pete. I'm handing over to you for the centre-backs.
Are we in agreement, Dan, that in Keith as well, Chris, that Maguire maybe gets moved out of this one?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. So.
That's fine. Look, there's been lots.
It's mad the way you just. Sorry, Pete. It's mad the way you just discard a £75 million player. You just go, yeah, he's out.
Yeah. Well,
hey, hang on a minute. He'll have you believe he's got over 50 caps for England, and he's playing for Manchester United. He can't be that bad. That's his words, not Manchester United fans. You've got to back yourself, but come on now.
Yeah, this isn't Gareth Southgate picking this team.
Doesn't matter. But look, this is where because what you've got here. I mean, this is me and jump in at any point, Keith. What you've got here, you've got Botman and Shaw that are the best defensive record in the Premier League as a partnership this season with what close to 12 clean sheets with both of them playing. I think it is 12 clean sheets actually with them playing against obviously Martinez and Varane, who have been a very, very good partnership this season. But we're talking about individual players here. And the fit position. So if we start on the right-hand side, Shaw and Varane. Look, Keith, just what's your kind of opinion on Shaw being in this right-hand side of the team?
I think in particular, again, Shaw as well has had an immense season, probably one of his best seasons really for the club, really. he's right up there in terms of clearances, in terms of for the Premier League stats as well. You know, he's got about 99 clearances alone there for Newcastle, and what he can give you something else as well. He can get forward and score an extraordinary goal as well. Mm. It's a really tough one, because if you're talking about all four there as well, Martinez, what he's brought to Man United this season as well, has he lifted them another level? Going back to it, if you're looking at pure hard stats in terms of goals conceded, it's hard to look past both Botman and Shaw when you boil it down.
And the way in which they've played as well. But Dan, put your argument there across for Martinez and Varane.
So when I looked at this, the two I picked in my head was, it's probably surprised you, Varane and Botman. The reason I've not gone with Martinez is the last sort of couple of weeks, I'm going to be on it. Well, last, I'd say 6-7 games, I've seen Martinez get turned inside out a few times. Mitrovic did it. Willian's done it. There's been a few that have turned him inside out now. Salah, absolutely, yeah, destroyed him. I'll always go with. I think Varane is stunning. I think he's a Rolls Royce defender if he stays fit, which is where we had our issues last season when we first joined. I think he brings so much to the team. I think he brings a calmness as well to the back four. Martinez is just pure emotion, isn't he? Pure and utter emotion. But there's parts of his game that I don't like. There was against Leeds, I don't know if you saw it, how VAR didn't see the kick on Bamford. And that's what worries me with Martinez. Botman stunned me this season. I'm going to say it. He's absolutely stunned me. I didn't expect him to come in and look as assured as he has. I mean, how old is he? He's still relative. How old is he?
Just turned 23.
That's young to come into the Premier League and do what he's done. And as you quite rightly said, Pete, in a team that is still in transition, I think he's been unreal. And I know you said about Martinez taking Manchester United to another level, but I actually think Botman defensively has taken Newcastle streets ahead.
The stats are there. You cannot lie. Yeah. You know, with the amount of goals Newcastle have conceded this season compared to last season. Yeah. It's insane the levels he's took them, particularly in that run before the World Cup.
Yeah,
I think that's right. Well, sorry, Pete. Go on.
No. Go, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that's as soon as I saw those defenders, that's who I sort of had in my mind: Botman and Varane.
One of each, then. One of each.
Do you know what? I when Dan was talking, and I was thinking, I can't not have Botman in there. But like when you look at the career Varane's had, you know, World Cup winner, Champions League winner, Real Madrid, La Liga winner. He is Dan's right. He is a Rolls Royce of a defender. As much as I love Fabian Schär, and as good as Fabian Schär's been this season, you know, if someone like hand on heart now, if Ten Hag rang Eddie Albon and went, listen, do you fancy swapping Schär for Varane? Oh. I think he does it. Do you know what I mean? Like Varane's Varane.
Pace as well. People forget this about Varane. Yeah. He's got a quick turn of pace, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's younger. Yeah. He's younger. Shaw's 31. Varane's 29. Varane feels like Varane's been around for years. Varane feels like, for me, he's like 32, 33. The guy's 29. Like, he's still in the prime of his career.
And he's retired from France, which is only going to be...
Is he really?
Yeah. Can you hear me still?
Yeah,
I can hear you, mate. Yeah,
he's retired from France as well, which is only gonna be a positive for Manchester United going forward, because a player of that level, you have to have him fit. He has to be fit to continue for you. Obviously, I think I'll sort my camera out in a sec. I think the amount of games Manchester United have had this season, we have seen obviously Varane drop out a couple of times for Maguire to come in, but. I mean, Christ almighty, he's unreal. He's absolutely unreal. And I think he adds to the mentality that United are trying to get back at Manchester United. So he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
There
we are. Right. we've got a pool of midfielders here. Are we going to agree that there's a midfield three in here somewhere?
Yeah.
I think we both played the same formation, don't we? So we should stick with the same formation, I think.
And now, Geordie, I think it's Geordie 2 for Life has said, his comment was, it has to be a full Brazilian midfield three, end of story, and I don't mean Fred. So he's been very clear on what he wants in his midfield. But look, Chris, I might even throw this one back to you. Like, where do we go with this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I think because ultimately, if you miss out a couple of players, further up top, I'd say a lot. Well, two of the positions speak for themselves up top, in my opinion. I think you have to. I mean, Dan, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to have Bruno and Casemiro in there. I think you have to.
I've literally just written down the same thing.
Yeah,
Just written down. I know he gets. Bruno is a player that, for my era, it was Robbie Savage. Couldn't stand the bloke. Every time we played him, the refs here just constantly gnawing. We know that. But for me, his stats since he's joined Manchester United have just been absolutely unreal. Goal scoring, assists. He's got it all, hasn't he? So I think he has to be in there for that.
Yeah. It's who partners Bruno and Casemiro, I think. Yeah. So and it's whether we would you say it's Joe Linton? Well, you got Joe Willock as well. I think Pete, it's probably fair, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's probably fair, to park Longstaff. I think. And McTominay.
I've already got rid of Sabitzer and McTominay. I've got rid of Fred, but I'll bring him in because I think two for two in the last position. You got Willock and Joe Linton, Fred and Bruno Fernandes. So where we go with that one?
Is there a possibility of playing Bruno on the right, or is that not possible, Dan? As in, would you ever see Bruno out on the right?
I think when he plays out on the right, I think that's where Manchester United severely lacking their creativity. I think, and he doesn't look like he enjoys it out on the right. I don't put him out on the right. My three I've gone has been Bruno, and then Fernandes and Casemiro. That's who I've gone.
Okay, so it's gone.
Fred's nowhere near it. Like I said, look, Fred's had a good season. He's had a good season, but like I said earlier on, Fred's better when he's babysat by Casemiro. When Casemiro's not in the side, it goes back to the old Fred that we've had to endure for the last 3 or 4 years.
I'm willing to narrow it down. I don't know if you guys are willing to, with Fred out and maybe Willock out, and then it be a toss-up between Joe Linton and Fernandes.
I think you get more offensively out of Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Joe Linton, brilliant last season. One of the most improved player for Newcastle last season, Joe Linton. But barring a patch when Cristiano Ronaldo was at Man United, I think you get more out of Bruno Fernandes. In particular, the stats I was alluding to earlier, with the assists as well. If it ain't the goals, it's the assists. So that's why I would put Bruno Fernandes in.
So would you have the team like this, Dan, with these two going forward as number 8s, or would you have it more as a Bruno, Casemiro, a little bit like Man United do, and have it like this?
I'd like to see Fernandes and Bruno. I'd like to see Casemiro sweep up, and I think that's just frightening for any team.
I was just saying that looks frightening.
That midfield, you look at that on.
Surely that's a title-winning midfield. Surely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
On its day, there's not many teams.
I look at the back four.
Yeah.
That's a solid back four you're going to get.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, well. That ended well. Now,
if Weghorst isn't starting in this 11...
hey, Dan, I'm sorry. I'm moving on.
He's gone.
Weghorst too. Okay? It's like, when your car radiator packs up and you've got a hole in it and you have to chuck an egg in it. It does a good job, but ultimately it's crap, isn't it? It's not going to work. I love Wout for what he does. We don't even need to have this conversation, boys. It's Isak, isn't it? It's a given.
Is it? So are we saying, Dan? And do you know what, Dan? Just very quickly while we're on that subject, another question I can throw in. David Cook says, "What do Man United fans think about the Dutch Chris Wood?"
I'll tell you what I think of him. I hear a lot of people say, do you know what? He doesn't stop running. Well, I'm sorry, but if I had the chance to play for Manchester United, I wouldn't stop running either, okay? the mind is willing, but the body is not. I think he tries his absolute hardest. And I think the one thing you've got to say about Vout is he was never brought into Manchester United to be the starting striker, was he? He was brought in to back up Martial, and he's had to play a lot of football this season. So his attitude is spot on for Manchester United. You can't take that away from him. The attitude is perfect, but the ability is lacking, I'm afraid. And also another thing, I don't know if you guys see this. For a guy who's 6'27", I've never seen someone out jump so much.
Yeah. He's not very good in the air, is he?
No, he just doesn't seem to win it. It doesn't seem to win anything in the air.
No.
I'm just on the left. Is this a no-brainer?
We have to go Rashford, surely.
Yeah. Speaks for itself. I think can it be denied for club and country? It's Rashford.
The right side's more interesting.
Well, there you go.
There's an argument on the right. I don't think there's an argument. I don't think Sancho or Anthony start on the right. I don't think they've done enough. Sancho.
You think Miggy?
Yeah, I'd go with Miggy. I would. I don't think Anthony's a one-trick pony. You know, as we've said, you stop him cutting onto his left, you stop him playing. I think Almiron this season has been consistent. I think he doesn't just bring goals; he brings. What I like about Almiron is it's that phase of play before the assist. He seems to be involved in a lot. That pass before the assist. He seems. I think he's not just grown from how being there. I think he's changed his game entirely. I don't know if you agree.
You know what I love about this, guys, is that there's a clear relationship with the left side and the left side and the right side and the right side.
Yeah.
There's a connection there with both. These guys together would be frightening. Yeah. Eddie, and we know Eddie Howe watches the show. Evening, Eddie. You know what to do in the summer. Get these boys together, because I think these boys will create absolute magic in black and white. That's for sure. But
midfield, Pete. That midfield's just
apart from Bruno Fernandes's wild long balls that get given away easily at times, are you really going to get the ball off these guys? Really, when they're on their form together, they could keep the ball all day. And I know Jordy Tufalife isn't happy that we've gone with Fernandes. He was going into all day. But from an attacking point of view, you can't deny, as much as people may dislike Bruno Fernandes, is that his goals and assists are there for all to see. And they are.
He's one of them players, right? That I don't care what anyone says. If he's playing against you, you despise him, but you'd have him. Of course you would, because he brings goals, he brings assists. His attitude obviously is questionable, but on a footballing sense, I feel like he was the biggest change United had until we got Ten Hag. He come in that season for Ollie and just was unplayable, in my opinion. Unplayable.
Do you know what this team did for me, Pete and Keith, more than anything when I was looking at it? I was smiling as we finalised Miggy on the pitch, and I was thinking, you look at this team, don't you, combined, and go, bloody hell, that's a great team. That we're not saying we get those players, but we're 5 players away from having a team where you go, wow, like that's some team. We've already said, haven't we, Keith, that left back we want another winger. We need possibly 1, possibly 2 centre midfielders, and we need a right centre back going forward, because Shaw's not going to be here forever. So it's interesting that those are the players that we've automatically gone, do you know what? We'll give them to Man United, because that's where we need. That's what we need.
Identifying the areas for improvement, Chris, definitely. And this sort of conversation, we wouldn't have been having this conversation like a year and a half, 2 seasons ago. We'd be sort of like looking and thinking, could any of our players be getting into the Man United starting lineup? And that was just over 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, if you look, 4 of those 5, Keith, are ones that we've brought in since the takeover.
I'll flip that though, Keith, because I look at a Manchester United side and I think this time 2 years ago, you wouldn't put a Manchester United player in any top 4 team, would you? They just weren't good enough. They were absolutely shocking. They were poor. There was no confidence. So I think it's a compliment on both sides to see. And that team isn't. We've not been pitying anyone in that team. That team deserves to be on that field, doesn't it? That is a stunning side.
Definitely. We need to take a picture of that one. We'll get that out there tomorrow and see what people think. But yeah, spot on, Chris.
Some team.
Definitely. And spot on. You brought it back. You brought the combined 11 back. I was wondering when it was going to come back. And it's here. And it looked great. And I'm going to keep that on there so we can get that out there and see what the fans think after the show today. So cracking stuff, boys. Right. Let's whip up a few questions for Dan. I hope you've got a little bit of time, Dan, before we wrap up.
That's fine, mate. No problem.
Few more questions.
KFC for tea tonight, so I'm not cooking, so don't worry about it.
Cracking stuff. Nice. Zinger Tower has to be done. Zinger Tower.
Craig Lee's come out fighting Dan. He said to Dan, will you be disappointed when Newcastle finish third?
Well, no, I've said that I think you will. So I don't see how I could feel disappointed about it. Look, as I said, the difference between Newcastle and Manchester United for the rest of this season is just the games that we've got. We've got a lot of games, and it's that Thursday night games that's gonna cripple us. I thought when we beat Betis, I was like, oh, thank God for that. We're in the semis. Now I looked and I thought, no, it's not the quarterfinals. We've still got, so you've still got 2, 4, 5 games to play in, with the final in there, plus the FA Cup as well.
I mean, Dan, can you imagine if United go, not saying that they'll win everything, but can you imagine if they got to the latter stages of all the cup competitions, playing the likes of Juventus and everything? I mean, that could be, in one way, it could be, if they won the 3, it would be amazing, but the league form could suffer because of it as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I just hope that the players that we've got coming back will come back at the right time to add that squad depth to it, because that is where we're lacking. That is the not the depth as such, but the quality in depth that we've got. If you look at the benches, the difference between the benches that you pulled up there, United's bench on Sunday could be a far cry from what options you have coming off the bench.
Chris, can I just throw a question out there?
Do it, mate. Do it.
Very, very quickly. Question for you, Dan, and I think someone else just put it in the chat, actually. Who is buying Man United? Who the hell is buying Man United? Honestly, we went through 18 months of trying to drag through this takeover to get PIF in to Newcastle United, and not a peep on Sky Sports News. It would be like a side comment, or you'd see it on the ticker and no one would even talk about it. But everything I see on Sky now is Man United, Man United, Man United. And nobody's none the wiser. And I said this 3 months ago when all the talk came out. I said, we'll still be here in months' time talking about, will there be a takeover? Will there be a takeover? Because everyone thought it would be like this. Yeah. And we know from experience that it's not like that. So, look, who's going to be your owners going into the summer?
Right. So, sorry, my phone's going off then. So, there's Geordie Toon for Life has hit the nail bang on the head there, and this has been something that's been rumbling that I've been getting more and more worried about. There's been the talk that maybe the Glazers didn't actually ever want to sell, that they put the club on the market for a lot of money. 6 billion, is a lot of money, in hope that it would be overpriced. People would come in, they'd make their bids, but ultimately they'd go back to getting the investment and say to the fans, well, look, we tried to sell it. It's not our fault that nobody met the offer. I worry if it's investment, if it goes down the investment route, this will knock United fans to the floor, because we've been so excited. You can take away the Qatari owners side of it, take away the Sir Jim Ratcliffe. The main excitement has been just saying bye-bye to the Glazers, saying so long, thank you very much, off you go, never come back. There's also been the chap Thomas Ziliakis who's come out, the Finnish guy who said, I want to buy the club and I want the fans to own part of it. That is never, ever going to happen. It's a great idea. It's a lovely idea, but there is no way the fans are going to say, yeah, we'll put shares into it. There's no way that can work at a top club. Non-league clubs, you see it happen. Fans have their involvement. They buy shares. They invest. That cannot happen at a Manchester United. The dream is for me is for Alfani to get the club, because he wants to build the stadium. He wants to just completely freshen up everything there. So Jim Ratcliffe, what worries me with him is he keeps saying the same thing. I will buy the club with no new debt. So for me, the worry is, does that debt that Manchester United still have hang over him if he brings it in? And I actually think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the offers that he's bringing in, that's top end for him. He cannot afford anymore. He cannot. He's going to have to take money out against Ineos. So for me, the dream is obviously Alfani. Look, this is the way the game's going now. Gone are the days where it's by local consortiums. They come in and they get it. They're fans of the club. It's a money game now. This is why you look at the Super League, why the likes of the Glazers, the likes of FSG have fallen flat on their faces, because they were Juventus, Barca. They're banking on that Super League for the money to come in to be able to go out there and then spend like idiots. So for me, I would love Alfani, but I've just got this horrible, horrible feeling that investors will come in.
There could be a lot more to run in this one. I mean, you guys remember, Pete and Chris, with us. Remember that excitement we had in 2017, in October 2017, when PCP, Amanda Staveley first came in, and the disappointment we felt in January when it was quashed. And then everything that came in, FCG, BZG, the excitement we had there, where we had the news the club's been sold on the Sun, and it hadn't. And then you had Peter Kenyon and all of that, and that side of things. It just ran on and on and on, even before we got the PIF thing come through. Maybe Jim Ratcliffe could be involved, as in sort of something like a PIF thing. Maybe it could work together somewhere down the road. But as we know, and as you've touched on earlier there, Pete, this could drag on. And the difference is it's being played out more and more in the media because it's Man United. It could take 6 months to a year.
There's a great point that someone in the chat has put. PGK, the longer the takeover takes, how much will affect your transfer business? It's huge. It's huge because the type of player Manchester United will go for if they've got the money will be completely different to the ones we don't. Well, look at January. Jai Felix was there to be taken. Couldn't get him. Couldn't afford him. We ended up with Weghorst. So I think the longer this does go on, I think it destroys Manchester United's transfer plans because. I mean, my dream up in my TikTok videos was I would love us to go out there and spend the money on Kane and get Evan Ferguson in, bring two strikers in, a well-established one that he gets a lot of hate, but the guy's scored for 6 consecutive seasons over 20 goals a season. And Evan Ferguson, who to me looks like a player that is just going to get better and better. Do you know what I mean? His stats already, 3 goals in 11 games at his age is stunning. So if this doesn't happen, then my fear is, do they then keep Weghorst and maybe try and get into the free transfers? I don't know. But I think it will affect the transfer business because the other side of it is we're in April, the weekend. When does the transfer window open? July? End of June? July the 1st, I think, isn't it?
But you can start to sign players from mid-June.
Yeah. There's no time. And I know that, Manchester United have got all these scouts, blah, 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 blah. But these same scouts have missed out on gems, the likes of Alvarez, the likes of Caicedo from Brighton. So, yeah. Exactly.
You had him at the training ground, and they still didn't manage to sign him.
I know.
It's like he was with Modric. We had him at the training ground. He went off to Spurs. I've no idea.
Who did Man United have at the training ground? Really?
Yeah, before he went to Dortmund. Yeah.
It was already said it was a done deal. He was at the training ground. He went around
the red carpet. They had Cantona there. They had Ferguson.
Okay. I mean, Man United as well. The De Jong deal. Look, I never ever thought I'd see Man United be dragged through the transfer like that. They were a laughing stock last summer, and then for him 2 months down the road, his wife to put an Instagram story out and say, actually, we're happy in Barcelona. No thanks. I mean, I know it worked out better for Man United in the long run because they got Casemiro, but I never thought Man United would be treated like a joke like that in the transfer window. They were so used to getting the players through the door early.
But that's the thing. You talk about the people who were in charge when we used to do that. David Gill, he would go out there in that transfer. You knew if Manchester United were interested in a player, they would get it. Now it's as you quite rightly say there, Keith. It's just drawn out. Like if we do get Kane, say we do have the money and we get Kane, that won't happen till the end of August. Guarantee it. That won't happen till the end of August. It's the same with the likes of Martinez. The same with Anthony. Anthony is not an 85 to 100 million pound player. But the problem we had with that is we could have bought him earlier on in the summer for 50 million, 60 million. But because we dragged it out, and our negotiating technique is, I'd rather Ted Bundy negotiating a deal for a player.
Do you think it's got better though, Dan, since Woodward's obviously left that position this year? Do you see an improvement in some of the craziness of Man United? Do you think some of that's starting to go from the culture now and is going in a better direction?
Yeah, I do, but I think a lot of that has got to do with Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag wants to bring the people with the right mentality. And I mean, obviously, you can take Anthony aside from that, but he's worked with Anthony. I think the players, Manchester United are looking a lot more for what players can do on the pitch than what they can sell off it. And I think that's the way you need to go. That's how you win Premier Leagues. That's how the likes of Liverpool went out there and bought these players that were just workhorses and absolutely, dominated for so long. So I think it is a lot to do with Ten Hag. I think Ed Woodward going was just 5 years too long, too late for me. The guys that are in there now, Richard Arnold, and they worked under Woodward, so it's not a change. Do you know what I mean? It's not a fresh start. Culture. It's not a fresh start, so no.
I think one of the biggest problems at United in the last few days I've thought of with this takeover is there doesn't seem to be a consensus with the siblings, with the family. They seem to be going in different directions, I think 4 of them want the sale. That's what's being speculated, but 2 of them don't want the sale. And there's one of them that wants investment.
Joel said he was emotionally connected to the club, which made me, I mean every word when I say this, it made me feel physically sick. Because how a man who has taken dividends out of the club for so long can say he feels an emotional connection with us. I don't know what goes through these people's brains when they talk. The last time the Glazers went to a Manchester United game at Old Trafford was the return of Cristiano Ronaldo against Newcastle.
Wow. We were there.
Do you know what I mean? That says all you need to know about the owners of this club.
And I was there this season. So
you were.
More times than the ass.
Yeah.
More times there than the owner ass.
Were they not at the cup final though? Were some of the Glazers not at the cup
neutral.
final?
Yeah. So that was neutral. Yeah. Wembley, wasn't it? They won't go to Old Trafford. I think there's safety concerns. I think they know what sort of reception they're going to get. Now, obviously, I don't condone violence or any concerns of that, but I don't think they go there because they know they are hated, and it is a pure hatred towards these vermin. These I'm going to coin a phrase that a lot of your chat have said, rats. They're rats, and they get out of this club. But I don't think they're going anywhere. That's the worry now.
That reminds us, Keith, Chris, of a certain someone that used to own our club. The feelings were exactly the same.
And he is. I tell you what, he is a cancer to the game. He is absolutely disgraceful. What he's done to Coventry this season, kicking them out.
That was disgusting. Absolutely.
How is he allowed to be anywhere near anything like that? I just can't stand him.
And Derby before. He dangled the carrot with Derby, saying he was going to buy them and showing his interest, and then just pulled out last minute. And then there was that conversation that was leaked, wasn't there, when United played Newcastle a couple of seasons ago. And Mike Ashley and Woodward were recorded saying, Woodward walked up and said, "Oh, how does it feel for us to be the 2 most hated men in football?" Like it's a title there they can joke about. And I think it's unreal. It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's very sad to see Coventry in the state they are.
Yeah.
These days, a traditional club.
Yeah. And they fought so hard to push, to get back into the Championship and look a decent outfit. And now it's just gone from bad to worse for him again. It's just unreal. But again, how did the league, how did the EFL, how did any of them allow this to happen? How did they allow it?
Yeah.
It's mad. It is mad. Right, a few more questions.
Yeah, what I'll do is, Dan, we'll do quick fire because I want we've got a couple of things where we need to do predictions, obviously, and we need to, round the show off. And I don't want your KFC getting cold, so we'll wrap up as quickly as we can because there's nothing worse than a cold KFC, Dan. Let's be honest.
Yeah, obviously.
Right. So Michael Pomar says, do you worry that your counter-attacking style of play you've adopted is not sustainable?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I think this season it's been needs must. He couldn't bring in 11 players this summer. So I think it was just a case of, let's be honest, I don't think any Manchester United fan expected United to be where we were in all cup competitions, in that battle for top four. I think there was kind of like Newcastle fans. You didn't expect, you had the project. You're so far ahead of your project, and I know it sounds silly, a Manchester United fan, one of the biggest clubs in the world, to be saying, oh, but we're ahead of our project. So no, I'm not worried, because I do think it's unsustainable, but I don't think we see this past this season. I think he'll bring players in to adopt the approach that he likes, which is a more pragmatic approach. He loves his passing stats. So I think it changes next season.
Tom Dixon asks you, Dan, are you confident on winning the Europa League this season, and is it not making the players tired?
I am confident. I'll be honest with you. You don't knock Barcelona out of a competition and not sit there and think, do you know something? We could do something here. It is making the players tired, and like I sort of go back to what I said before, we have had players out, and I hope that they come back at the right end of the season and offer us a bit of depth there. But I mean, look, yeah, you've got to be confident to win that competition. There's still some really good clubs in there, Juventus being one of them, but we've got Sevilla. Sevilla are a bogey team for Manchester United. They've knocked us out of the Champions League and the Europa League in previous seasons. I know they're having a very bad season themselves, but it's that monkey off your back, isn't it? If we can get through them, well then, yeah, we go for it. The team I was worried about facing in the Europa League was Arsenal. I was quite vocal about this. I didn't want to face Arsenal in the Europa League, because obviously against them at the Emirates, they should have hammered us. I mean, 3-2, we sort of got away with it only being 3. So I didn't want to face Arsenal in the Europa League. They were the only team I didn't want. But yeah, I'm confident we can go on and win it.
Yeah. No, I can see why, mate. I can see why. Then we've got what order shall I do this in? Okay, so Michael Pomar says you've got a lad on loan at Sunderland called Diallo. He's having a great season. How does he get into your first team in that congested wide area? Now, obviously, when we were looking at the the best 11 or the team for the weekend, we did notice obviously you have got quite a few options, both on the right and left wing. So what? Do you see a future for Diallo? Have you been following him much, Dan? Or
I have. So I watched him last season when he went to Rangers, and I wasn't impressed. I think he's had a great season on loan at Sunderland, but what I would personally like to see him do next season is go on loan in the Premier League. I think I'd like to see him go get a real good season under his belt in the Premier League and get a taste for what it is. The Championship and the Premier League are two completely different beasts, aren't they? And the one good thing about the Championship is he's playing week in, week out, and there's 46 games a season. Obviously, you've got the playoffs. So I would like him to go out there and play on loan in the Premier League. I think it would be key. If we were to bring him back next season, he won't get in. It'll hamper his development. You've got Anthony that can play there. Palestri seems to be getting a bit of a look in now. Then on the other side, you've got Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho. I don't see Elanga. Well, I think Elanga goes in the summer, to be honest. I think so. I think they missed a beat with him. There was that offer for him to go on loan to Borussia Dortmund, and I thought, what a place to send him. What a place for him to get his footballing education, but they didn't do it. So no, I don't think Diallo gets into the team next season. I think unless he's sold, maybe I think he goes out on loan again.
Yeah,
he could go and do a club like Everton or somewhere like that, Chris.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the Championship again, surely.
On loan. if I say that, if Everton stay up.
No, it's not happening, Keith. It's not happening.
maybe Burnley under Company when they come up. That wouldn't be a bad shot, would it?
Yeah, that's not a bad shot. Yeah.
Like 2 more questions, Dan. First one is from Craig Lee. Who do you see? I'll shorten this one. Who's your main transfer target for the summer, or the position? What player? I mean, I've got in my head who I think you're going to say, but what would be your main target for the summer? If I could say one player and you can get him, who would it be?
It's a striker, isn't it? It's a striker. United can't go another season with Weghorst, filling in there. I think we need that out-and-out striker, because as good as United have been this season, I just wonder to myself if we'd have had a fully fit Martial, if we'd have had an out-and-out striker up there. how much more we could have done. So yeah, it's got to be a striker. Notwithstanding, I think we need a few more positions. Obviously strengthening, but yeah, it's a striker for me.
Yeah, Victor Osimhen by any chance?
No, Kane. I'm all in
Kane?
for Kane. I'm all in for Kane. I'm all in. All in. I just think, look, Manchester United, the way he plays, I still think a lot of people kind of have this opinion he's done in 2 or 3 years. I look at Kane like Sheringham. I think his game has adapted so much in the last 2 or 3 years, and I would absolutely love him at Manchester United. He's a goal scorer. He gets it, and I think yeah, I liken him. If we were to buy him in, I think you could do this. You could look at the same sort of scenarios when we brought Van Persie in, someone who just scores goals. And there's that story with Van Persie, isn't there? That after the first 2 or 3 games in training, Ferguson pulled Rooney, Scholes, Giggs, all them sorts of players, and said, if you don't pass it to him in a game, I'm going to take you off the pitch, because you get the ball to him and he'll score. And I think that's what Kane does. I don't see Kane going anywhere else in the summer. If he stays in the Premier League, he comes to Man United, providing we can afford him, of course.
That's all right. We'll take Osimhen. We'll take him.
Yeah. I've got a horrible feeling he's going Chelsea.
No.
Apparently they've got Nkunku already. Do you reckon?
Yeah. It's always done.
Yeah.
Chelsea are the only club to have as much lost so much money, but they'll do a bit of wheeling and dealing. Mountain and that will go to other clubs, and they'll just, as you say, they'll pull a winger. They'll sign like Osimhen or like a 10-year contract or something like that. And you're like, how did Chelsea get away with this? But they're the only club to get themselves out of those. They are the Houdini of football. Chelsea.
They are.
Let them have Lukaku back. Let them have Lukaku back. Go on, you take Lukaku. We'll have Osimhen. Third, Man United and Newcastle, either position, 3rd or 4th in the league, both get Champions League football. You get Kane, we get Osimhen. Everybody's happy.
Done deal.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
I've got my pen. Where do you want me to?
And then last question, Dan. Would I Eat Here says, what attracted you and made you support Man United?
So it was my uncle. My uncle grew up watching, George Best, watching Bobby Charlton, and he used to tell me stories and show me back in videos. I don't know if people still know what videos are. He used to show me video recordings, and I'm very fortunate that as I was born in '86. I started to come into watching the class of '92, really start to take shape. And then, of course, my first love, I say that without the wife hearing, David Beckham was my idol growing up. I just adored him. So, absolutely. I just adored him. It was a family thing. My Uncle Tony, bless him. I say it like he's dead. He's not dead. He's still here. Bless him.
I was going to say.
He'll be watching, saying, what's he on about?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there we go. It was,
God rest his soul or something.
I know. I'd say, oh, Christ. He's definitely not dead. He rings me about 7 times a day, honestly. But no, it's from my Uncle Tony. He just... He had, but I tell you something, a funny fact. When I was younger, before I really understood football, I remember playing Wembley in the playgrounds, and I always wanted to. I grew up before the David Beckham thing, wanting to be Paul Merson, and I kind of did in a way because the beer-wise, I smashed that, but football ability, nowhere near.
That was some memorable goal celebration, wasn't it? When he was at Arsenal, when he used to.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions, Pete.
Quality, brilliant stuff. Thank you for all your questions in the chat. I'm just going to steal the chat for you for 1 second. Lisa has said there's been 130 plus in the chat at points tonight, but there's only 56 likes. Just get that thumbs up on the way out. We're going to be wrapping up the show in the next few seconds, in the next few minutes. So just make sure you click those thumbs up on the way out and get that up. So more people can see the fantastic show tonight. That's for sure. And of course, thank you. Very nicely put, Chris, as always. Thank you for watching. And click subscribe. We're on the way to 6K. Come and support the channel. We're moving nicely into that position. So come and support us and everything that we do on Loaded Mag and UFC. There's lots more content to come. Boys, let's get down to predictions. Right, the big one.
Yep. See ya. I'm not doing this. This man here is completely. He's got me. He's got me. He's set up for a massive fall here.
We're going to work our way around. We'll start with Chris, work our way around to Dan, and then to Keith and myself. Chris, what do you think the score's going to be on Sunday?
I think we're going to give them payback for that final. I think it's going to be 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0 Newcastle. Well, he's gone for it. Clean sheet as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Dan, the Man United fan in the house, what are you thinking from your perspective the score's going to be on Sunday?
Well, last time that me and you were on a prediction show, right, and we were playing away somewhere, I said 2-2 against Liverpool, and we got pumped 7-0. So I'm not doing that. I honestly think I'm going to go score draw. I think 1-1. I think one apiece. I've said this so many times to you on the 12th man, haven't I, Pete? I think this game for Manchester United is more important not to lose than it is to it. We need to keep that buffer between us. So if we can get a draw out of this, I wouldn't be ecstatic, but I'd be happy. I'd be happy as long as we come away without the loss.
Interesting. Right, we move on.
Do we do you first, Pete? Do we do you first?
Okay, cool. All right.
Let you finish it.
I think I'm going to be confident. I'm going to go for a Newcastle win. I think St James's Park, under the lights. It's the late kickoff. I think revenge is going to be in the mind for fans and players. I just think we're going to win. I think Casemiro is just going to be a big miss for you guys, and I'm going to go 2-1 to Newcastle. I'm going to go 2-1 to Newcastle. I think Newcastle win 2-1. But I've got a feeling it's going to be a hell of a game. I think it's going to be a proper attacking game with both teams. I've just got a feeling it's going to be one of those type of games. So, yeah, 2-1 for me, Newcastle. Right.
Can I say something? This man, Mr. Stato, you get so much stick in this chat.
He does, mate. He does.
I'm reading some of these comments. Lisa's put, if Splinter says a loss, I'm unsubscribing.
Honestly, the complex I've got. When I finish this show, I've got the rest of the week. I don't know how I'm making it onto the show every week because of the hate I get.
Pete, can you get the picture up, Pete? Have you still got the picture loaded?
Did I pick the wrong club to support or something? I thought Newcastle fans all supported each other.
Never keep.
I'm putting the transfer bid in for Lisa in the summer, mate. So I'll put one in for you as well. I'll put one in for you.
There's a couple on the chat, Chris. I'm just gonna click.
Go on, mate. Go for it.
It's about that time. It's about that time.
He's in
the house. He's in the house. He's in the house. Right, Keith, 00 Stato. Everybody wants to know what your prediction is. This is what everyone's hearing. Everyone's waiting for.
Everyone loves it. They say they hate it, but they love it.
They love you, Keith.
What I would say is this game could be the best Newcastle Man United game at St James's Park for years. It really could. Because we've looked at that team there. We've looked at players. If they turn up, both sides turn up, and Newcastle will be fired up. They'll be fired up by that burning disappointment of the cup final and not showing up the cup final. Bear in mind, Isak didn't start that cup final. And he's going to be in our minds, he's going to be starting on Sunday. So he could be the difference on Sunday in that final. I don't think that Newcastle will get their revenge this season. I do think realistically it's probably going to be a draw. Realistically, it could be a 2-2, it could be a 3-3, but I think we're going to have to wait that bit longer. But it's going to be an entertaining game.
I'm skipping these comments on the latest ones.
If Man United win, because I can't see Newcastle win, I think it's going to be an entertaining, thrilling game. I think Rashford could be the difference. Can you remember that game years ago as well when Nobby scored a brilliant goal to make it 1-0? The Leazers, everybody was up, and then Andy Cole got 2 late goals. It could be something similar like that, or it could be a thrill and draw. That's how I'm seeing it going to go.
You're my kind of guy, Keith. You're my kind of guy. Love it, mate. Love it.
Next year we'll get the revenge at St. James's, but I don't think it'll happen this year. United are in good form. Newcastle are in good form. Score draw.
Before we get any hate, it's Man United, not United. From our perspective, Dan, you can say United. Keith, you got stick last time for saying that. I'm going to correct you.
I get so much stick on other things because I always put United, because just it's United, and people go, "You can't spell." I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not. It's not just Newcastle fans who get upset about the United stuff. It's surely it's Leeds and it's Sheffield United as well, walking around as well saying, "Who the hell's this United?"
Love it. But Keith is gone for a draw. Did you actually say a score?
I think it'll be a score draw. Yeah, it could be something along. I mean, imagine if we get something a bit like what we had for the City game earlier this season. That would just be crazy. And even Newcastle were rubbish back in 2015-16. Can you remember that game where it ended up 3-3? The goals from Rooney and Mitrovic.
Puldumic scored off the post in the last minute. That one.
Do you not think that both managers are looking at this, both saying the same thing here? Look, we can't lose. We cannot afford to lose this. I think that's what's going to make this game a lot. There's going to be so much interest, I think, and I'm looking forward to the presses as well, because I think we can all agree that Ten Hag did a bit of a masterclass in the final, didn't he? Definitely a bit of mind games there. So I'll be interested to see what's said tomorrow.
But early doors in that final game, Newcastle played quite well, didn't they?
They
just didn't have that cutting edge, and that's what worries us a little bit about Newcastle. It's about getting that, and they came through against Forest, but it's Isak is the one, and that's they still need that clinical edge really. And if Newcastle were to go a goal up in the first 10-15 minutes, it changes the complexion of the game. If they get to 40-odd minutes and they still haven't scored, it's...
the bringer of doom.
Wait,
Christ
wait till you see this one. I've just been saving this for when Keith finished. Mark Todd says, on the fence more than Cooper and all. And then Jason Scott wrote, Kiefer and all.
Oh, Keith. You've got
People got to get that picture. You've got to get that picture.
Clip it. We're gonna clip that bad boy.
Oh God.
I prefer the dead man in WrestleMania season.
Yeah. Yeah, the streak. It's all about the streak. Oh, brilliant. I love it.
This one's brilliant. I mean, they're throwing
I'm getting more of the complex than Hasty does on Friday on the other channel.
Yeah. With all the dogs and stuff.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Craig Lee, that's deep. Craig Lee, that's deep. That's deep.
Oh, that's a conversation for another time. But look, predictions are in the bag. It's all about what we see on Sunday now, and I cannot wait for it. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And look, just before we wrap up, thank you to everyone in the chat. As always, your questions, your comments make the show just as much as we do and our guests do on this channel. So thank you very much. And look, massive thank you to our sponsors, the Radiator Shed, Russ and the team at radiatorshed.com. Thank you for all your support. Keith in prison.
As always, every week I'm in prison.
With his fence. Keith and Dan in prison with the fence in tow as well. And of course, the Radiator Shed, they're all designed and manufactured in Italy. The aluminium rads are very environmentally friendly and are perfect for heat source pumps. They offer a home survey service and will install if required. And look, there's just a range of different colors and different styles and types of radiators that are available. So make sure that you get in touch with the Radiator Shed as well. And of course, we have to say a massive thank you to the Bathroom Design H2O, the Northeast's largest supplier of Vilroy and Bosch bathrooms, where Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, run by the family. So get down to those showrooms on the 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate in Gateshead, and you can see some of the fantastic bathrooms that are available and they are very much a valued sponsor to the channel. So get involved in that. And I keep saying week in, week out that the missus is banging on at me getting a new bathroom from these guys, and we will at some point when I can earn some more money. So we'll see how that one develops. But if you haven't become a member, and we've had a few new members in the last few days actually, click that blue button. You can only do it on laptop, but click that blue button. It only takes a second, $1.99 a month. And we've got plenty, and the man here, Chris Hall, will tell you we've got some more giveaways in the pipeline for the months ahead. So if you want to be involved in it, you have to be a member. So keep in touch with all things Loaded Mag NUFC. Oh, you're on.
Hang on, I'm talking and I'm on mute. Sorry, I'm going to say reaction show Sunday. If we win, I reckon we could do a giveaway.
Oh,
I reckon we do a giveaway. If we win.
Come on, the boys.
So everyone tune in.
If Man United win, do I get Keith? Do I get Keith in the award, or?
Never.
Would I be sent on loan? Would I?
Never. No chance. No deal.
If Man United get the Europa League final, would I be loaned? Maybe, you think?
Like Dubravka
for a special.
Oh
yeah.
my God!
No, I cannot win anything, but I can go and be part of the final.
Love that.
We made that mistake with Dubravka last time. We're not doing that again. That's for sure. But look, massive thanks to you, Dan. Really, really appreciate you coming on. Everybody has said tonight and consistently throughout the show how much of a fantastic guest you are. There's one or two that have said, look, I don't like praising Man United fans, but he has been absolutely spot on. And of course, Chris to put on there from what I eat there. You've been a good Man United fan to have on. And look, your views and opinions, I know it anyway from 12th Man, but you're absolutely spot on, mate. And it's been a pleasure to have a chat with you. And look, Terry hasn't been on tonight. He wasn't able to make it. He has sent his apologies. He will come on and do a separate show at another time. But hey, doesn't matter because we had a fantastic show and a great chat regardless. And it set us up nicely for the game on Sunday. So massive thanks to Dan. Massive thanks to Keith, Double O Stato, Splinter, whatever you want to call him. Was it Keith Renault? Keith Renault.
Dead man.
The bringer of doom, whatever you want to call him. Keith, you're an absolute gem for Loaded Mag NUFC. Thank you for always taking the time to come on and join us in away days. The main man, Chris Hall, great to have you back, part of that Brandy and Blaze squad. Hopefully we'll get you on a few more of these in the weeks to come. Absolutely, and of course we have to say massive thanks to everyone in the chat. You guys make the show. You guys are fantastic. Everyone in the chat,
absolutely stunning. I just honestly, I've just got to say, I mean, I've been on a few of these shows, and by far, the comments been fantastic, been so respectful, and been some good banter in there. And from my part, the job you guys have done, I mean, obviously me and Pete have only really met sort of 4 or 5 months ago. Great guy, great outlook on football. It's been such a pleasure coming on this show and listening to your views, listening to Mr. Stato's stats were just incredible. And just echo what Pete said before. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that button, because these guys are going to take this content so far, and you've got a good group of core knowledge there. So just massive thanks to having me on, and just keep plugging it, guys. You're doing fantastic work, all of you. Absolutely.
Plug yourself before you go. You're bringing a channel out soon. I know you talked about it earlier on, but let's plug it again before you go.
No. So as I say, at the moment, I'm on TikTok at UnitedFirst. Swap the I for a 1. In the summer, that's when the channel will start. A lot more coming on that soon. Again, it's a journey that I've always wanted to take, and something I'm really excited to take in the summer. And I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to subscribe. That's absolutely phenomenal. And we'll see what happens in the summer. But again, as I say, looking at the stuff that I've seen on this tonight, it's so professional the way you guys have set everything up. I think the guys in the chat are very lucky to have such a great core knowledge here, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more stuff with you next season with my channel. So just again, thank you so much for having me on. And Pete, how much nicer is this without bloody Lawless stirring the pot? Honestly.
Well, I say that.
It's coming Monday.
I can't get too happy because He's back. Lawless is back for the West Ham preview Monday at 7:30. It is definitely going to be hammer time, and it will be for us with him if they don't beat Southampton. They are in the mud if they don't beat Southampton, and we are coming with our hammers to cause him some mischief. That is for sure. And of course, before that, on Sunday, hopefully it'll be a positive one, but we've got the Loaded Mag reaction show Sunday evening, so keep an eye on that one too. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. We did way longer than we expected, but you know what? I don't care, 'cause it's been a fantastic chat. Thank you all for joining in. Kick that like and subscribe on your way out if you haven't already. And of course, we do love playing away. Guys, how do you like that?